debut delight for Davidson. The Super Scot comes to the Super Series. Tops, it's 1-0 Meulenkamp. Gotta love that. Real moment for the Cameras as he pins the double 12. Crabtree looking to be top of the top plus 3. It is break point. Bolton leads 3-2. Well, Cam not happy with the time it took. Good evening and welcome along to what is a heavyweight night here at the Modus Super Series. We have 6 big stars looking to go pound for pound here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And when it comes to next Saturday, all the marbles are going to be on the line. Watching all of this week alongside myself and back for one last Saturday night stint in Series 7, it is the asset Paul Nicholson. Forget about Tyson, forget about Alexander in Saudi Arabia, because this is where the heavyweights are going toe-to-toe, because we've got 2 of the real big beasts in the Super Series Lake slugging it out on that stage. Yeah, just a bit. I think Crabtree, and you've got Meulenkamp, you've also got Bolton as well, but because of the people who have done it before on the Saturday night and grasped the trophy, we look at Bolton, we look at Crabtree to see whether they can do it again, but there are people out there tonight who could spring a surprise. Well, let's have a look at the players that are involved in tonight's final then in Portsmouth. As we said, Andy Bolton and Cam Crabtree, they're the star names involved. While Meulenkamp would say he's a star in his own right because of what he's done in the past. Scott Baker, fast, furious and phonetically good. Keenan Kay, Chris Hurds, first time into a Saturday night final. So actually when you break the 6 players down, there's such an intriguing dynamic. Yeah, there's a nice mix of young players, more seasoned players, people who have done it, people who have nearly done it, and people who really, really want to do it. I know they all want to win, but if you look at someone like Chris Hurds, for example, this is the biggest thing he's ever done in darts. And as for someone like Ron Meulenkamp or Andy Bolton, or maybe even Cam Crabtree, it's just about continuing what they want to do in a quest to get back to where they have either been before or where they want to go. But there's a lovely mix tonight, and I'm really looking forward to this. Well, let's talk through the week chronologically then, and begin on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That was when Group A took place, and it was emphatically won in the end by Ron Meulenkamp. He had completed the card in each of the first 2 days. 20 points to his name going into the final day. 26 points in the end was the margin of victory, and if we be perfectly honest, there wasn't really much opposition for him. Not really. I think the work that he did on Monday and Tuesday was just really efficient. I think coming into tonight, after a couple of days off, the one thing Ron has been thinking about is how well he played on Monday. He even said to us in this studio that after winning 5 games from 5 on Monday, that there was still something else to find. But if he can do what he did on Monday tonight, he's got an excellent chance of winning his first weekly title and getting to his 2nd Champions Week. He was the only player from Group A to make it through to finals night. Is that actually a surprise in your opinion? Yes, because I didn't realise that until I did my statistics this afternoon. I always look at how many combatants you've got on a Saturday night who've played in 2 groups, then I realised very quickly, hang on, Ron's played the most games this week, 15 over the first 3 days, and everybody else has only played in 1 group. Of all of the weeks I've covered since the very start, I've never seen that. It's a bit of an oddity. So Ron Meulenkamp was the winner as far as Group A was concerned. We then divvied the players up into Groups B and C on Thursday and Friday respectively. Group B was what we watched on Thursday and Friday evening, and it was an intriguing affair. Keenan Kay won every single match on night 1, and that got him over the line on day 2. Cam Crabtree had a on and off Thursday, but then came to the party last night. Yeah, I think a game of 2 halves in Group B for certain. Cam played some good stuff on Thursday night. He had 2 good games, 2 games that he wanted to forget, but it turns out they're the only 2 games that he lost. He played some really good stuff when he won matches, and predominantly those wins came with 90-plus averages. We're getting more good stuff from Cam than any other player per game this week. Keelan did all of his work on Thursday. He's done what we call a Jared Cole here, winning 4, then losing 4, but in the end, he needed 1 leg in his last match to get his way through in 2nd spot. And by virtue of other results, Andy Bolton did just about enough. And the weirdest thing for me, when you go back over the last couple of days, you and I have had many conversations, and I said adamantly, don't worry, Andy and Cam are going to make it. It's just a question of who else. There was a point yesterday where I thought, I just want to take those words and put them in the bin because I didn't think it was going to happen, but it just so happens that it has. So
fortunate for Bolton, Cam did all the hard work, and in the end, Keelan was quite lucky to get through.
In terms of Andy Bolton, I'm going to ask you probably the most impossible question I've asked you in this studio. How did he make it through?
I don't even think he knows. Experience, yes. Getting the wins, yes. Did he play well? Not in his book. But I think what we saw from Andy was a really good temperament in getting through certain really tight situations. He did things like that when a certain Johan Brouwer this week just didn't have the experience to handle the pressure. And you saw how disgusted he was with not getting through. In the end, experience is something you've got to gain. It's not something you can buy.
Well, Group C was our focus on Thursday and Friday afternoon. It was the tightest ever group we've ever seen here at the Modus Super Series because it actually went down to the last demographic you can go by. Scott Baker, well, it was quite simple for him, really. We'll talk about him first. 16 points, and he got better as the week went along.
Yeah, Scott said that yesterday. His final performance was maybe the most polished, and his final 3 darts in the group yielded his best finish as well. So that was a really nice crescendo to that Group C campaign, which was at times just a little bit too sketchy, especially on Thursday when he was losing matches that he would usually win. But by the end of the session, he was figuring something out, and he came into Friday and he was the best player. But the entire story was about the other 2.
Well, that second position was so tight between Chris Hurds and Ryan Finesse. In matter of fact, it's the tightest it's ever been here at the Modus Super Series. Never have we had a group campaign in Group C decided by something like that. It went down to the averages. The head-to-heads were all level, the legs were all level, the points were all level, and it was Chris Hurds by 3 points on the averages that made his way through.
Yeah, and these players weren't 100% sure at the end of play whether they'd done enough. We had to communicate this to them. And the way we split it down is you go from points to leg difference to legs won, and then you got head-to-head record. And that was quite interesting as well because they'd both beaten each other 4-3. And when you can't separate that, you have to look at averages. And it just so happens that Chris Hurd's higher level of performances over the couple of days got him through. And I feel for Ryan Finesse. I know he's gone through the mill in his personal life recently, and we all love him here, and we will see him back, I'm sure. But he desperately wanted to come here tonight to bring his ravel of fans, and unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be on this occasion. But I'm really happy for Chris.
What kind of occasion is it going to be for Chris this evening?
I think knowing what he's been through in multiple weeks before this qualification, he can go out there and just try and be flamboyant. Maybe try and be as flamboyant as his haircut, but it's not just about how he looks. This guy's played some really decent darts this week, and I think he would fully admit that he's played the best he's ever played under this roof this week.
Well, let's have a look then and talk about tonight here at the Live Lounge Report. So this is how everything breaks down. This is tonight's tournament bracket. The players, well, they're split into 2 groups of 3. One Meulenkamp, Keelan Kay and Chris Hurds in Group 1. Cam Crabtree, Scott Baker and Andy Bolton are all in Group 2. And you get the sense that it's a draw kind of picked into 2 halves where you look at Group 2, Crabtree, Baker, Bolton, they're the heavyweights. Ron, of course, a big name in this tournament, but for Kay and Hurds, that's a huge opportunity for them.
It is a big opportunity, but I love the way that Cam Crabtree was talking about the opportunity for someone to win Group 2 to play the runner-up in the semi-finals. I think a lot of dart players will come up here and chat and say that they're going to take it one game at a time. Cam has actually told us that that's not how they think. There's an opportunity for someone to make the semis, potentially the final tonight, but from Group 2, if you get through that one, you're going to feel great because one heavyweight player is going to go home.
Well, it is such an intriguing position for those players in Group 2 because can it psychologically, you're going for it right from the get-go, but can you almost focus too much on what could be ahead of you, though, once you do get through in terms of the big battles would have been behind?
No, I don't think so. When you look at a group like that, you've got to think of it as a knockout mentality. So no matter who you're playing in your first game, make sure you peak for dart 1 and stay in that zone for the second game. The mentality of those 2 players, or all 3 players in the group, is going to be, I want to win both games. If I do in this group scenario, I'm going to fancy winning it. It's not a case of I'll win one and do decent enough in the other one. That's not how these players think.
Well, let's have a look at the odds then and see what the bookies think about tonight's proceedings because Ron Meulenkamp is the man that goes off favourite. Your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure about that. We've watched every dart this week, and we can sometimes get carried away with weekly numbers. We'll talk about that in commentary tonight. But the way that Cam Crabtree has played the last couple of days, when he's won matches, he's looked better than Ron. A lot of the numbers for Meulenkamp that we will talk about, they tend to be weighing heavily on what he did on Monday, because he did regress as each day went on. I just hope the last couple of days he's ticked over well and comes in sharp and ready. But I look at those odds and I think Cam looks like the person to beat. But there are other people who could do it. This format tonight, it lends itself to someone who turns up and has their day. And Cam looks more ready than anybody.
Andy Bolton's 9-2 in the betting. He's a man who's never failed to make it through to a final in a qualification week. I've never known a time when nobody's spoken up Andy Bolton's chances.
I've tried to, but unfortunately his form has had us talking about other people. Andy is a master at getting to the final. He's had some great battles with Sebastian Białecki in finals. He's had a great game here with Scott Taylor, who's won a series now. But for me, his form hasn't quite been there this week. It's just a case of whether it turns up tonight. With his experience, if the form turns up, he can easily win tonight against players playing their best.
It's 18 plus. It's begambleaware.org if you're going to have a flutter on the Super Series this evening. Right, let's get into our first match of the evening session then, shall we? It sees Meulenkamp, the winner of Group A, take on Chris Hurds, the runner-up of Group C. It's an opportunity for both to win their first weekly title here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And early on tonight, I caught up with a pair. Chris, a bit dramatic for yourself yesterday. How would you describe Friday from your perspective?
I think I was more nervous than the players on stage, to be honest. I was in the back. I was going to leave. I didn't realise I was still in with a shout. And then when I did, nerves was horrendous.
So is it almost an added bonus to yourself knowing that you're through? Because you thought after that last game, maybe that was it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It's a fresh start today. Feel fresh and, just head on.
And in terms of the way you played, how would you assess that over the last 2 days?
Yeah, I know I can play better. I've missed chances where I should have taken chances and vice versa, so there's more in the tank.
In terms of tonight, how big an opportunity is this for yourself?
Massive. What will be, but I will give it everything. So.
In terms of your darting journey, I know that there's probably a lot you want to achieve, but this is almost like a culmination of a massive path for yourself with the ADC and what you've done before.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I enjoy being here. The first couple of times was nervy, but I feel more at home now, so it's good. You got
your brother with you down this week, haven't you? You got family down with you.
Yeah.
How important have they been? Have you got many people coming down to support you tonight?
Might be a few, yeah, but my brother's brilliant. He's great support. Whole family and friends are. I've had messages and a lot of support, so it's good to have him here, to someone to look to in the crowd and know there's someone there for you.
Well, I wish you all the very best tonight, Chris. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
One, back here on a Saturday night at the Super Series. How do you assess your Group A campaign overall?
Yeah, feeling good, feeling confident. Practice now goes really well. So, I'm really looking forward tonight, and anything can happen, really.
As you say, practice the last couple of days. When you win the Group A, is it as important to spend the 2 days off as wisely as the 3 days you spent on the board winning the Group A?
Yeah, you have to. All the days count, really. After the win, then I knew very early, of course. So I had a nice sleep, and then a nice walk through town, and I even walked to the South Sea. That's almost 2 hours. So it was quite good. The weather was nice. So I made myself worth the days and chilling. You cannot stay in bed all day in the hotel. So I had a nice walk that really clears your mind as well. So I'm very happy with that.
It feels like everything's just clicking into place for you right now. It just feels like this year you're really building towards something. Everything's moving in that right direction for yourself.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 100%. I made some promises with myself and the missus back home, and to be fair, the bar is going in the right direction. So less fall downs, but you have to keep improving, and that's the thing what I want to do, and I'm very excited to show everyone. But it's also excited that it happens. You see what you want to do, and you put the effort in it, and then the bar is rising. So I want to do that for the next 6 months, and then the important things coming up. So World Championship qualifiers, obviously Q School, things like that. But also I want to shine on the Challenge Tour. So there's a lot of good things to come, and I'm really enjoying it.
And in terms of tonight, we've seen you make a Champions Week before, but you got through by getting through in one of the runners-up spots. How much you'd like to do it as a weekly winner, having that trophy in your hand?
Yeah, that would be a dream, of course. I mean, I watched it so many times. People holding that trophy. There's lovely names on there. So yeah, I want to be part of that. But I'm not. I am hungry, but I'm not hungry that I wanted to do it now. Like it doesn't matter, you know. I'm here for a long time, and if it's on the big circuit or just on this level, it's hard enough, and you have to put the effort in it. And I'm ready to do that. And yeah, as long as I feel comfortable and good, I keep doing it.
We love seeing you embracing the process. We wish you all the best tonight. Ron, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Tops, it's 1-0 Meulenkamp.
Speaking of eloquent,
Here it goes, it's a measured. And for the perfect day, Ron Meulenkamp is the man who cannot be moved. Well, it's going to be a heavyweight night here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and Ron is hoping to drop a few bombs, and I think we'll see a few of them later on this evening in that big heavyweight fight. But it's all about the arrows here on the South Coast this evening, and Ron's first assignment is Chris Hurds through to his first finals night here at the Super Series. The Welshman ADC qualifier, winner of the Welsh belt, up against Meulenkamp in our first match of the evening session. And describing all of the action in the commentary box is Paul Nicholson, alongside first Chris Murphy.
Thank you very much, Henry. Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to another finals night. The last finals night, of course, before the Series 7 Champions Week. 11 names already in the field. Number 12 will complete the lineup for the big prize, the biggest prize ever at the Modus Super Series, £25,000 on offer a week tonight. And Ron the Bomb is hoping that he will be there, and he explodes into action against Chris Hurds. And this Chris will be heard alongside 40. Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Murph. And Chris definitely heard that 180. Welcome to Saturday night, Chris. His very first Saturday night. Whereas Ron Meulenkamp has been here before.
60.
He's been here 3 times, in fact. Twice in qualifying weeks.
50.
And the other time was the culmination of the previous series. He has yet to win on a Saturday night, but it doesn't feel like he's failed on Saturday nights. He's always been a contender. It's been a really successful week for him. He got out of Group A, and he's got out of the gates at the start of this first Group 1 match.
Potential 11 dart start here for Meulenkamp. The Dutchman wasting no time. May just stay there. Okay, he's going for it.
50.
He's not going for it in the end. Seems a curious route to go if you're not going to go for it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
140.
Seems a bit odd to go for the single 15, unless he really wanted to leave double 10 with the treble. And when he had the comfort of laying up for tops, he used it perfectly. And the first leg to Meulenkamp is banked in 90 seconds. That's a really good start.
Yeah, just 13 throws for Meulenkamp against Hurds, who now is aware what he's up against. Nobody in the field has played Ron Meulenkamp this week.
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? Really strange how every player in the Week 12 finals
96.
have only played one group this week. I've never seen that before in my times in the chair.
95.
So everybody's going to have a great deal of freshness when it comes to their opponents. The only way we'll get a repeat match is in the semi-finals or the final.
Let's not forget as well,
46.
Week 12 was the winning week for Scott Taylor in the previous series. He went on to win Champions Week 7 days later. Pocketed £20,000. There's been another 5 added to that for this series.
But if I may, and I'm being really honest here, Scott Taylor in Week 12 in Series 6 was playing at a very, very high level.
79.
And he continued that when he played in Week 13. As for this week, the standard has been slightly down on previous weeks.
81.
But we have seen people either have an obliterating start, which is exactly what Ron Meulenkamp had on Monday. But there are players like Baker and Crabtree who have found their best towards the end of their group. It's tonight that counts, though.
140.
Chris Hurds determined to make it count, having tried and failed on many occasions to make it here to the Saturday session. A regular qualifier through the ADC system.
Run require 140.
We've seen other players take those small steps. Maybe tonight's another one for him. Could prove to be a giant leap come the end of the evening.
Absolutely. Whatever happens, he's got to be really happy with how this week has gone. Got through by the tightest of margins.
95.
And his margin for winning leg 2 is very tight as well. Double top.
75.
He might pay the price
Run
for that
require
miss.
40.
As Meulenkamp goes for tops for a second time in this contest.
Game's on the second leg.
Yeah,
Ron
piercing
Meulenkamp.
accuracy from Ron Meulenkamp, and it's hurting Hurds at the moment.
Feel like it's Ron to throw first.
Meulenkamp doubles
Game on.
his advantage. The Dutchman, the former PDC tour card holder, showing that prowess. And you may, if you have just tuned in, think your eyes are
60.
deceiving you and other PDC tour card holders on the stage. No, it's not Peter Wright. It is Chris Hurds.
55.
I haven't spoken to Chris this week about whether he did model this on Snakebite, but you know what they say. A little bit of copying of somebody else is a little bit flattering.
59.
Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Indeed. Well, all of the dart players have got
57.
supporters in the crowd. Ron is flanked on the right-hand side of the room as you look at it via your smart devices and TVs by a certain Johan Brouwer, who, by a very small margin, did not
96.
qualify through Group B. He played 2 groups this week.
44.
He was behind Meulenkamp in Group A, and he was behind the top 3 in Group B. So tonight, he's here, but not throwing. And I get the feeling that he will be watching the darts tonight, hoping that Ron wins.
100.
But inside, he'll want to come back.
And if you have only tuned in for tonight, finals night, you may not have seen Johan, but you might have still heard him.
25.
He was a character this week, that's for sure. It was never dull when he was on the hockey. So far, so good for Meulenkamp, who is cruising towards a 3-0 scoreline here.
Yeah, no pressure at all coming his way.
100 are on
The
require
disparity
88.
in the averages is enormous, some 20 points between them. Was hunting down the treble 16.
No, he's just trying to leave double 16, and does.
56.
The closest that Chris has been to getting a leg is leaving that double in leg 2. There is a risk here that he might not get a dart at a double in this match, and we all know what 4-0s can do to you in group situations on Saturdays. They are catastrophic.
Well, when he went for the treble 16, it's because he was determined to leave tops, which he's hit
Game's
twice
on
in the
the
match.
third
But
leg.
he
Ron
does
Meulenkamp.
find double 8 in the end. And he leaves Chris Hurds now on the brink of the worst possible
Well,
start
it's
to a
Chris
finals
throw
night.
first. Game on.
Getting here is one thing. Succeeding on Saturdays is another.
81.
You're playing, by and large, the best players of the week. Overall average for the week for Ron, 85.74. His doubles at 34% were
40.
pretty good. Massively the best 180 hitter of the week. But there's a caveat to that.
85.
Yes, he played the most games this week, having played 15. The next most amount of games that someone played was Chris Hurds at 10. So with the 22 180s he hit en route to Saturday night, oh, well, he's only lost 20 points there.
77.
He's picked up well, but the ratio of 180s per match is best for Ron as well. That tells you how likely he is
97.
to maximum the shot. Now, this week has had a lot of narratives. Maybe a slightly lesser standard from the players as a group. We've seen a fair few big finishes and some
44.
perplexing group situations. But one of the biggest narratives this week, most of the players having darts fall out the board because they keep it in their own kit.
121.
Yeah, he almost lost. He would have probably lost all of his darts had he stayed there. He moved down, but the subplot is that Chris Hurds has made steady progress in this leg and maybe avoiding that potentially fatal whitewash.
60.
He'll be back in
Chris
game
Hurds
3 to take on Keelan
170.
Kay, who was the boss of Group B on the first night,
97.
and then had the absolute opposite last night.
Yeah, if he was the boss on Thursday, come Friday, he was almost fired.
Well, Meulenkamp was on fire at the start of this one, but this is a tricky leg for Ron.
60. Christian required 20.
And the leg may be gone. Hurds aims at double 10.
Game shot on the fourth leg. Chris Hurds.
That could make all the difference, even if he doesn't win this match.
Fifth leg.
You
it's
may look at
on
that
to
leg, that
Hurds.
double later this
Game
evening,
on.
and think that is the point that my night turned around.
If you're going to lose a leg from 3-0 up, you want to do it when you're not throwing first. That's exactly what's
97.
happened with Ron Meulenkamp here. And when he did get to a final in Series 6, he lost to Chris Landman,
140.
who would soon after that get his PDC Tour privileges. And by virtue of that, it was Ron who was invited to Champions Week.
Yeah, just for clarity on Champions
98.
Week, the players will be put into groups in accordance with their weekly averages. The highest so far being Bo Greaves, who is
84.
guaranteed a place in Group A with her 93 average for the week. That's stunning. Won all of her matches, of course. And Meulenkamp, as a runner-up, had one of the highest averages of all the runners-ups, which is why he filled in at the last Champions Week.
I think he's just doing his maths here. He looks very relaxed. And he probably should feel relaxed. Because
97.
I'm going to say something now which I don't usually say. I think he's been given the easier group tonight. By virtue of winning Group A and seeing who came through in the other positions in B and C, he's been given the slightly easier task tonight. But he must not go to sleep thinking that he's going to guarantee the semi-finals by just turning up.
140.
Well, that's a timely 180, just to
197.
remind Ron that it's not a practice match, this. But he will get
57.
at least one
Ronnie
dart
requires 69.
for the match, barring a disaster here.
3 words. Just get rid. And it's tops again.
And in pops tops again. Meulenkamp is the man in the opening match. Chris Hurds found it tough going. Lost the first 3 legs, never recovered. And it's Dutch Delight in the opener this evening as the bomb beats Hurds comfortably 4-1. The averages closed up towards the end of the game, but Hurds left it too late to mount a comeback. 85.69 for Ron, 4 out of 7 on the doubles. Very impressive in that department, including that 69 checkout to get the game won. And it will feel like job done. It will be if Keelan Kay beats Hurds for him in the next game. But before that, we go to Group 2. Cam Crabtree and Andy Bolton coming up next.
Hang on a minute. Wow! Oh my God! Well, that's £100 down the drain already. Itching to hit the 180. He's gone for the maximum. Team for the bull. Bull.
53.
No, he said bull.
That's a great first start from Adam. Oh, look at this. He's going to leave Skate.
Oh, can you believe it? That is unbelievable. Yeah, match starts to put his team into the final. And through to the final they go. Charlie Murphy has hit the match-winning dart on both occasions. Double 4 for the title.
Please show your appreciation for the winner of the Influencer Pairs event, George Scaife and Adam Lipscomb.
He seems to be out. That's what he is, Charlie Murphy. A couple more visits yet. We're not going to need that.
Bosch.
Pie Face is through. He gets
And he's absolutely buzzing.
It was a game that Pie Face dominated throughout.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where Ron Meulenkamp continues to dominate proceedings here at the live lounging ports. He was a dominant force as far as Group A was concerned, and a 4-1 win over Chris Hurds means that he's got his Saturday night off to a perfect start. He won his first 2 legs in 29 darts, and he has set down a little bit of a marker for the other 2 in the group. Well, Group 2 is about to get underway now, and it sees 2 heavyweight players here at the Super Series go toe-to-toe. It's Cam Crabtree and Andy Bolton duel here on the south coast. Both players made it through to the last Champions League, but only one can make it back to back. And earlier on this evening, I caught up with a pair. Andy, another Saturday night for yourself here at the Super Series, but boy, did you have to work hard for it last night.
Yeah, it's been a really strange week. I think it seems like it's been a strange week for everybody. I don't know. It's the first time I've come in just doing the 2-day thing, whether that's had something to do with it. I honestly can't put my finger on. I'm hopefully saving them for tonight. But yeah, it's through by the skin of my teeth, I suppose. But we got there, and you know, this is what it's all about, just getting through to finals night.
When you put your head on the pillow last night, what was the thoughts that were going through your mind in terms of the performances?
There's not a lot of thoughts go through this mind. No, it's just always about making Saturday night. You know, I've been lucky enough in the past to do it quite sweat free, if you like. Whereas obviously the last couple of days have been, and it's been very warm up there, so there's been a lot more sweating anyway. But yeah, it was nail biting stuff. You know, I needed Camp to come through. He turned on. He's finally turned up yesterday, and he's going to be a one to watch tonight, I think, if he keeps improving. But yeah, I say every time I come on a Saturday night's money night. So when you're a bit tight in the pocket like Andy Bolton, then you know it's all about money night. So
I've got to be careful how I phrase this, but you're a seasoned campaigner, Andy, here at the Super Series. Every single time you've been here, you qualified for the Saturday, and you've at least made the final in a qualification week. Can that experience be an extra little doff in the cap against some of the opposition this evening? Some of them are first time on a Saturday.
Yeah, look, every week's different, every day's different. You know, cliche. You know, one day's not the same as the other and all that. But look, I know what it's all about. I know what it takes, and I don't see tonight being any different. And I know if I turn up, which I'm overdue to, then yeah, I know I'm going to be the guy to beat. If I don't turn up, if I play like I've done the last couple of days, then that's not going to be good enough. But yeah, we go we go strong or we go home, sort of thing.
Well, we wish you all the very best this evening, Andy. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Cam, here we are again. Saturday night at the Super Series, and last night it looked like you really turned on the style.
Yeah, I had to do something after the start I had on Thursday, so luckily I got the job done quite nicely as well, so it makes me feel positive for tonight.
After Thursday, was it a case of almost regrouping to a certain extent?
Yeah, I think I'm never that great on my first day here, whether I play all week and I'm here on a Monday or it's Thursday and Friday. I always get better as it goes on, and that was just a case of that. I had 2 pretty good performances and 2 poor performances, but that's for me to work on, and luckily I did.
Into tonight's final. Now, you'll become very experienced, aren't you, with the Saturday nights here at the Super Series? You won a week before. How much does that previous experience hold you in good stead going into this evening?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think there's a couple of them that haven't made a Saturday night before, so they probably have, everyone should have nerves. If you don't, then you don't care, but they probably have more jittery nerves, whereas mine are sort of like, I'm eager to get on the stage sort of thing. So, yeah, it will help me. Of course it will. But, everyone's doing the same thing, really. Where
is your mind in terms of where things are at the minute? Because we've put a lot of expectation on your shoulders with what you've achieved. Are you somebody that's saying, right, there's an expectation to win now, or is a lot of it still experience you want to put into the bank?
Yeah, I think it's more experience. Obviously, I know, sound like Mickey Mansell, I know how good I can be. So I know what I expect from myself. And at the moment, it's, everything that I do is experience, whether that's England, here, Challenge Development Tour. It's all experience for that, but I also know what I should be doing tonight.
And finally, I'm not letting you go without talking about your socks.
Oh yeah, they're pretty cool, aren't they?
Do you want to explain some more?
You got Martin Lukeman's face on them. I can't get my leg high enough to show you, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, we wish you all the very best this evening. With those socks in hand, Cam, good luck.
Thank you very much, mate.
Is he still smiling?
Game,
Not anymore.
and the match.
Scott Taylor's in the
Scott
semi-finals
Taylor.
of Champions Night.
And if he's going to do it, he's going to have to put his socks up, isn't he, Cam Crabtree? And on those socks, well, the face of Martin Lukeman, who has made the trip down to support his county team at his county championship weekend. And Cam and Martin will be in action in that. But there's a lot to do before now and then as far as Shazam is concerned. First things first, it's the business end of week 12. And he's hoping to make it through to a second consecutive Champions Week as he takes on Andy Bolton, who is looking to make it a hat-trick of appearances at the big occasion. In the commentary box, Paul Nicholson and Chris Murphy.
Thanks, Henry. Yep, here we go. This may be the match between the two players expected to contest tonight's final. There's a lot of darts to be thrown and no disrespect meant to the others, but you could see in the interviews both of these players feel that they're the player to beat. Andy Bolton literally said that, and who can argue with him with the record he's got in reaching finals here? But he knows that Cam Crabtree started to turn up last night. There is the aforementioned Martin Lukeman, who gave that sort of begrudging approval. But does it get your approval, Paul? I'm sure this match does already.
Yeah, this is the kind of game I want to see on a Saturday night. Two people who have got experience and form. 4 perfect darts to start the night for Cam. That will get everybody's attention, including Martin Lukeman, nicknamed Smash. Yes, they are playing county in Norfolk tomorrow.
100.
But before they make their way there, Cam's got a job to do. Looking for his second weekly title.
58.
After winning in week 4 in the previous series, he would like to get back to Champions Week again.
Usually has his own little Pro Tour supporter with him, doesn't he, in the form of Owen Bates.
85. Cam, you require
Was there when he qualified and won that weekly title.
Yep, Owen's in Turkey right now. Bit of a commute to Portsmouth, that one. But I'm sure he's watching along.
Well, Andy Bolton always looks like he's just come back from
96.
Turkey. But he's been hot and bothered on the stage this week, as he mentioned himself. And has found it a bit of a struggle. Has still made it through, but he used the word overdue. It tells me, Paul, that he's aware that he's not been at his best.
100.
I think he's always aware what kind of form he's in. And in this group, which also includes Scott Baker, this is the harder of the two.
48.
And this would be a brilliant
And
breaker
he
throw.
requires 76.
He's been sticking around Cam all leg long, just waiting for this chance. 2 18s for the immediate break.
58. Cam, you require 20.
2 10s for Shazam.
Game's on the first
And that's
leg.
perfectly pitched to take the opening leg on throw.
These two tend to follow each other here at Portsmouth. They played each other in the Champions Week
Second leg, it's Andy
in
to
Series
throw
6.
Game on.
They spent hours upon hours upon hours in that practice room and on the stage together.
60.
And they've also played each other twice this week. Both games won by Crabtree, by a distance as well. 4-1 and 4-2.
Now, he is one of the players, look,
58.
obviously overshadowed by Luke Littler, who hasn't been in the world of darts in the last 12 months, but he's one of the players that really wasn't well known until he appeared at the Super Series, Cam Crabtree.
100.
And he had the most explosive debut, I think, of any player in this individual match. It was a stunning average, wasn't it, of around 109 in his... Even higher than that, was it?
115.
115, wow. And he was just suddenly a fixture after one match, really, that was going to be invited back here again and again.
And I'm with you. When Cam did that against Matt Jackson, I wasn't working here that week.
60.
I looked at my social feeds, and my initial reaction was, and I consider myself quite educated when it comes to this level of the sport and the pro level, and to see the juniors coming through, and I thought, who's Cam Crabtree?
59.
We all know who he is now. Talk about a way to announce yourself, and he's been with us ever since. This young man is almost Pro Tour ready. I say almost because I think he's going to learn even more about himself this year. And you and I both think, Murph, that him being on the Pro Tour for the next 2 years would not be a shock.
144.
Wouldn't be a shock if he took this out. I remain totally unsurprised. A fabulous 1-4-4 finish with Bolton waiting on a 2-darter gives Cam Crabtree control of the contest.
Absolutely stunning.
Oh, the point was I wasn't stunned, Paul.
I was talking about myself. His best finish of the week of 122 has just been obliterated. When you get your best finish of the week, or your best leg of the week, on a Saturday night, that's a really good sign to say that your preparation coming into your first or second game, for that matter, has been really good and on point. Talked a lot yesterday about how when he wasn't playing, he was getting outside, getting lots of steps. And in fact, Ron Meulenkamp earlier tonight was talking to Henry about getting outside and clearing his mind. It's what dart players need to do. Learn from these guys. And Andy's another great example of this. He's won a Group A before, and what he did for 2 days was get outside, clear the mind, and then do the tuning practice that you need for a Saturday night.
A little bit like Ron Meulenkamp described earlier. And I love the way that he phrased it. Every day matters. Not just the days that you're playing darts, but the days that you're not.
59. Cam, you require 142.
Now he doesn't need the 1-4-2. If you can bring it down to tops, or take it,
126.
that would have been one hell of a brace.
And this is the kind of spell that he had in that match that we were talking about, that debut when everybody's jaw dropped to the floor.
60.
It's Andy Bolton who will be feeling
requires
flawed at the
60.
moment. We know there's a big boxing bout going on tonight, but this is not jab after jab. This is sucker punch after sucker punch from Cam Crabtree.
He's had some trouble on double 8 this week.
Game
But maybe
shot
that
third.
in itself is a sign that he's more ready than he was even in the last couple of days. On Thursday, he had
Fullback, it's
3
Andy to
straight
throw
visits to
first.
double 8 and missed it
Game on.
outside with every single shot. And that caused this horrible brace of games for him. And he lost them both. But his ability to respond in
80.
Game 4 on Thursday set him up brilliantly for Friday. And he is in the box seat now.
All going well for him. I just get the sense Andy Bolton is trying to find his game here.
96.
There was a little quizzical look as he overpitched a dart. Again, a lot of his darts have been way high over that treble 20. He does find it with this dart.
85.
Just all hard work at the moment for Bolton. And we were talking about the prospect of a nightmare start for Chris Hurds. Well, the same scenario is on here for Andy Bolton. He could lose his opener 4-0. It's a long way back from that to go on and reach another final. And let's not forget, he's always made the final when he's made it through to a Saturday night.
96.
He has preserved his perfect record of making Saturday night. That in itself is rather remarkable. 6 from 6. Oh my.
164.
From behind in the leg, he has just taken the lead by 95 points, just like that.
Yeah, and the smart thinking to use the bullseye. He found the 25, it'd have been on 170. Turns out to be academic anyway, because after a dozen darts, Bolton isn't on a finish. Crabtree's taken out 140-something. He's threatened 140-something else.
I'm just going to put this out there as he sets up a match-winning chance on double 12. How many times have we seen somebody beat somebody 3 times in a week, and then they meet again in a final, and then the person who's lost 3 times goes on to win the week? That could happen.
Luke Littler did it to Andy Barton's. But Cam Crabtree has made light work of Andy Bolton. A 4-0 success for Crabtree. And there he does give a little flash of the socks that has Martin Lukeman's face on them. And now let me tell you something. He has just smashed Andy Bolton. A 101.9 average, a 144 checkout. It's absolutely brilliant, that. If he keeps his standard up all evening, he will be the man to beat. Andy Bolton needs to bounce back against Scott Baker in a couple of games' time, and that's exactly what Chris Hurds needs to do next. He takes on Keelan Kay after the break.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where before the break we saw a nigh-on-perfect performance from Crabtree, registering the first ton-plus average of the week, hitting a 144 checkout, scaring another couple of ton 40-plus shots as well in dismantling Andy Bolton in a whitewash win. So Crabtree is also almost there into the semi-finals. Our third game could well see the semi-final lineup from Group 1 completed. You saw earlier on this evening Ron Meulenkamp get the better of Chris Hurds 4-1, and it's the Welshman's turn to return to the Oki as he takes on Keelan Kay. A win for the man from Plymouth, and he is in to the semi-finals at the expense of Chris. And earlier on this evening, I caught up with the Lord of the Board. Well, Keelan, welcome to the Saturday night setup here at the Super Series. It's taken you a few attempts to get there, but how pleased are you to finally make it here?
Yeah, delighted, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a nice free hit for me and no pressure, and see what happens.
Would it be fair to say your Group B campaign was a tale of two halves?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Shown, win 4 out of 4 on the first night, then lose 4 out of 4 on the second night. But, you know, I've done most of the damage on the first night and just look forward to tonight now.
How important is it to put that to the back of your mind? Almost treat this as a new tournament in isolation.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. Looking forward to it now and, like I say, fresh start, clean slate, and hopefully we'll go again tonight.
How will the dynamics change? Because obviously it's the first time you played here in front of a crowd, but you know what it's like. You've played in various tournaments, competitions around the world, particularly in your youth days. So this is not going to be alien to you at all. It's just a different dynamic to the Super Series format.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. I've done it in the past and won in front of crowds before, and yeah, looking forward to it.
You were mentioning earlier this week about going under the radar. Is that what you're planning to do tonight? Just let all the talk be about other people and you just do what you need to do? Yeah,
definitely, yeah. It worked on the first night. I know it didn't work out last night, but it worked the first night, and why not do it again?
How much would winning tonight mean to you? Because the last year or so, you've had some results, but you want to really move yourself in that right direction because you're at that kind of stage of your career where you want to make that next leap.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. If I was to get through tonight and win, it would be huge. Biggest win in years, probably. But just going to enjoy it and see what happens.
Well, I look forward to watch you play. Enjoy the occasion. Keelan, good luck.
Thank you. Cheers.
Finds it. Kay's keeping his composure. Well, Cam not happy with the time it took. It's been a special night for Keelan Kay, who completes the card. And the Lord of the Board is potentially 4 legs away from making it through to the semi-final. In fact, if Chris Hurds can get this game done in 4 legs, he'd be in the semi-finals. A 4-0 wouldn't be enough to see him progress through to the semi-finals, but defeat, and he will be heading for home, watching this one on the commentary box. Paul Nicholson and Chris Murphy.
Yeah, this is it for Chris Hurds, game 3, and it could all be over for the 35-year-old ADC qualifier, the Welshman, taking on the 22-year-old Keelan Kay. His first appearance of the evening. A match with Meulenkamp awaits Keelan in game 5 of the 6 group games tonight. But he now has his hands on the lever that could send Chris crashing through the tungsten trapdoor. Owen Binks, the referee, officiating proceedings this evening, keeping a beady eye on the board and the players. But Hurds will need some rather special antics to turn around the situation he finds himself in.
Absolutely right. That first performance from Ron was very good at times, especially the start. And he put Chris Hurds on the back foot very, very quickly. Now Chris has got to get on the front foot and get something positive moving.
Keelan, one of those players who came through the JDC system. He's a product of the sort of darts academy era that Luke Littler and Cam Crabtree have come through, I suppose. It's a new breed, isn't it? It was
85.
merely a pub game when you were coming through back in the, well, decade not to be mentioned, I suppose, Paul.
Yeah, when I came through at the age of 18, when I started playing competitively, it was a pub and club game.
121.
There wasn't anything for people under the age of 18. That's why we had to wait. But people like Keelan, at his young age, he's got so much experience for his age. It's just a question of how he uses it now. As Hurds go for, he's going for the second 170 of the week.
130.
The other one coming from someone who's not here tonight, Joe Mernon. Great start. But the single is missed, costing him a chance to break in the opening leg.
76, Christopher Corner, 36.
Good guide. But the adjustment is
27.
too large, and Keelan Kay gets away with his mistake. Does Chris Hurds get away with his?
He shouldn't, and he doesn't. That's exactly what Keelan needed, because yesterday when he lost 4 straight games and didn't play particularly well,
Game on.
I'm sure that played on his mind all day, but I really liked in his interview the fact that he thinks this is a free hit. When he looks around that practice room, he will see players who are expected to be the chief tonight. Nobody's looking at Keelan tonight, so why should he come here with pressure? He shouldn't. He's got exactly the right mindset.
Well, that leg won by Keelan Kay now means that Chris Hurds cannot qualify by winning this game.
85.
Even if he reels off the next 4 legs, he will have to wait for the final match in this group. Could be, of course, a potential for a 9-dart shootout should that happen.
We've had one in this series.
Oh, what a fun night that was, by the way. Let's not forget that 9-dart shootout saw Daryl Pilgrim hit a 180, and he finished 3rd out of 3.
Yeah, extraordinary stuff.
96.
Jimmy Van Schie. What a night he had.
A star was born at the Super Series. We've had some fantastic Saturday nights in this series.
140.
A little bit more sedate this evening in terms of the audience, but
98.
we have seen already an explosive performance delivered by Cam Crabtree. We could yet see more fireworks provided by the players. Maybe some here.
110.
He did not scare that bullseye with that 135. Double 12 for Hurds.
60.
Oh, that could be costly.
Keelan
takes this, and Hurds is on the back foot again. Double 12.
Game's on the second.
He's not missing doubles on the outer ring, that's for sure. This is very good from Keelan, who is 2 legs away from qualifying for his first semi-final on his first Saturday night.
Well, it's very conceivable that we may see
11.
Our semi-final lineup. It doesn't matter how many are there, who's there, they're all enjoying it. But yeah, the semi-final lineup could be sorted after 4 matches this evening. We won't quite know who's playing who, but we'll know which 2 players are out if Kay wins 2 more legs in this match and then Baker beats Bolton.
60.
I can't sit here and say that Chris Hurds is playing badly, because he's playing pretty much the same sort of darts as he has the last couple of days, which just got him through, and it was first Saturday night. But one thing we know after 6 games at the start of Saturday night's play is that 2 people will be very disappointed, because they'll be out and they will have to watch the other 4 duke it out for the title. Now, Keelan's average for the week was just a shade under 77. His daily average on Thursday was then reduced by 5 points to what he did on Friday. I don't think he's in the best of form at the minute, but I think this is a really interesting part of his career. I think when you get to this stage, you need to be tested. And what the darting universe is asking you is, what do you want from this sport now? We're going to show you a path to success, but can you take it by making good choices? That's where Keelan's at right now.
Well, he's certainly making very, very good progress in this game, and therefore on this finals night. This leg hasn't been great, but it's been even worse for Chris Hurds.
57.
Keelan narrowly missed out on a chance to take a 116 earlier in the match by missing a single. He's going the same route, but it's a different result this time.
46. Chris Require 97.
Really, really needs this. Double top just does not look comfortable, doesn't look settled. But does find the double and clings to the cliff edge.
Johan Brouwer in the audience tonight, cheering on Ron Meulenkamp, who's the other player in this group. I think Ron's feeling rather comfortable. He just needs a couple of legs in his final match. At worst, he might even be through without throwing a dart in Game 5. That's if Keelan wins this match. As far as Champions Week is concerned,
55.
we've got 7 countries represented from 11 winners. Does that tell you
92.
that the Super Series is finding talents from more countries than ever? You better believe it. And it's entirely up to Chris Hurds tonight to try and make it 8, because he's the only representative of a country here tonight that is not already in Champions Week.
92.
Yeah, Champions Week getting underway from Monday, 9:30 a.m. here live on the Modus Super Series YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed so
45.
you don't miss a dart of the best week of the series. Bo Greaves, Daryl Pilgrim. Daryl Pilgrim.
34.
Bo Greaves, Andreas Harris and Andy Davidson, Conor Heenahan. Pilgrim was on my mind from that 9-dart shootout. Jimmy Van Ski is the player I got through from his week. Bradley Brooks is here.
41.
Kieran T and Reese Robinson. Remember his win? What a night that was. Be back to that in a moment as Hurds looks at double 10. Can't
90.
quite find it, but will have a go at double 5 when he comes back.
I think Keelan Kay's best chance of making the semi-finals is in this match. I think him up against another debutant on a Saturday night is his best opportunity of getting it done in this spot. The last thing he wants to do is having to beat Ron Meulenkamp. But he might have to, because Hurds is starting to get some traction.
He did get better as the game went on, Chris Hurds, against Meulenkamp.
Gets Chris to throw first. Game on.
After 2.5 legs, he was averaging 20 points lower than Ron. By the end of the match, it was just 2 points.
121.
Just to finish off the confirmed Champions Week lineup, Darius Labanauskas and Neil Duff, the 2 players I didn't mention.
Pick one name from the 11 that we know are there who will definitely make next Saturday.
60.
I'm going to say Bo Greaves.
Agreed.
Statistically,
83.
she has been the best player of any of those 11. An average of 93 for her winning week. The next best, 89.6, Andreas Harrison.
35.
Interestingly, third was Andy Davidson.
He played very well. Valuable experience for him.
Another sort of unearthed diamond, I think, that we found ourselves at.
Yeah, I don't think Aidan Kirk wants us to talk too much about last Saturday. He had multiple opportunities to get himself into Champions Week himself, but Aidan will kick again this year. I have no doubts about him.
43.
I think if he doesn't make it to the Pro Tour via the Challenge Tour Order of Merit or via Q School in January, I think Aidan Kirk is a series winner in the next year and a half.
Well, this could all be going a little bit wrong for Keelan Kay. He had a 2-leg lead, and he's let go of it.
98.
Could find himself behind unless he's got a super-sized shot up his sleeve.
He can't have large fries with that.
80.
What he needs now is someone to get the order wrong. Double 16 for Hurds.
Game shot on the 5th leg.
He's still alive.
Chris Hurds.
But even if he wins 4-2 or 4-3, he's going to have to wait.
6th leg, it's Keelan to throw first. Game on.
One thing we do know about Group 1, we're not going to get a 9-dart shootout from it.
And I think it would be very unlikely we'd get one from
41.
Group 2 either. Would require all matches being 4-0 and Cam Crabtree to be on the wrong end of a 4-0 defeat at the hands of Scott Baker, if that's what you're here for, I'm afraid you might be disappointed.
59.
Hurds has averaged 1 maximum per match all week. This is one of the rare matches he's played where he hasn't had one. He might be saving that best scoring visit for the best possible time, which, quite frankly, is right now.
55.
It's not going to be.
45.
He's meandering towards the finishing line, but Keelan Kay has got to get this situation back. Because if he loses by 4 legs to 2, he will start the 5th game with the darts against Meulenkamp, needing to win by a margin.
95.
We will confirm the margin at the end of the result, if indeed he does lose.
Should be starting on 19s. And now treble 20.
96.
Got the maths right, but the execution was slightly off.
You know how I was saying his mentality was right, saying it's a free hit?
44.
Well, that is 95% right. Because there'll be 5% of his brain and his heart saying, I want this tonight.
100. Chris Rick,
That's the fighter's chance. That's the dart playing mentality of I want to win. And you do get the feeling that the 110 may be needed.
42. Keelan, you
However,
require
Chris
110.
has only just got himself inside 130.
46. Chris Rick, 122.
So the 18s, well, he can still do this. Treble 20 for Bull. That is a happy accident.
Was that your impression of
36. Keelan, you
Rob
require
Schneider
64.
from Waterboy? Well, you can still do this.
It's tops for Keelan Kay to do it, and what he does do, he forces a last leg shootout.
Very, very good now.
7
One
for
thing
final
Chris
against
Hurds knows
Christopher
all
Hurds.
about
Game on.
is tight situations this week after what happened in Group C. This is a one-leg shootout
100.
to see who is either through or still has a chance. Kay wins, he's through. Hurds wins, he waits.
81.
Yeah, and so much on this.
100.
Because the expectation would be that Ron Meulenkamp would beat Keelan Kay. So this leg really could be everything.
I agree.
60.
Before the night started, I thought Meulenkamp would win both games in this group. And I thought this would be a shootout to see who joins him.
140.
Turns out Chris Hurds is not going to get a maximum in this match, but he may not need one.
58. Chris, you record 161.
He was saying earlier tonight
99.
that it was torture being in the practice room waiting to see if he'd done enough to make Saturday. He is 62 points away from having to
90,
wait again, and
Chris,
Keelan Kay's
62.
just got the maths wrong.
Double 16. Double 8.
46.
He'll be back. Keelan Kay, if he wins this leg, remember, would be through. Hurds would be out. Hurds has got an opportunity to win the leg. We can confirm, by the way, that Ron Meulenkamp is through because this match has gone down to a last leg
40.
decider.
Requires 16.
It could be Chris Hurds that's going through with him. Despite that defeat at the hands of the bomb, he's bounced back and beaten Keelan Kay 4-3. And now he needs Ron to get rid of Keelan in a couple of games' time. That one going the distance. Not the highest quality, but the scoring wasn't there for Keelan Kay. The finishing was the problem for Chris Hurds in that game. Kay was efficient when he did get down to a double, but didn't get down there often enough. And Hurds took advantage of all the opportunities he was afforded in that game, meaning that he is still in the fight ahead of his after his 2 matches and ahead of Keelan Kay's final match with Ron Meulenkamp. Andy Bolton now looking to do something similar. Having lost 4-0, he faces Scott Baker.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where before the break, Chris Hurds kept his hopes of progressing through to the semi-finals alive, getting the better of Keelan Kay in our last leg decider 4-3. Kay, who'd stolen a march early on in the match, but it's Hurds who picks the points up, and Ron Meulenkamp has sealed his place into the semis with that win. Well, the stakes are high as far as Group 2 are concerned, because Cam Crabtree got the better of Andy Bolton by 4-0 in the opening match of the group, and the X Factor is back in action now. He needs to beat Scott Baker and then hope that the final result correlates in his favour. But he takes on the Mod, the winner of Group C, who caught up with me earlier on this evening. Well, Scott, welcome again to Saturday night here at the Super Series. How pleased you to be here?
Oh, mega pleased, yeah. Got to be here, make the Saturday night.
In terms of this week, Group C, it was a dramatic finish, but you kind of did the damage early enough for it not to be relevant in your case.
Yeah. First day, yeah, losing one. Second day, going in and losing the first game, I thought, that's all to play for now, especially with the guys that was in the group. And yeah, finished off bizarre, I'd say.
In terms of your performance, did you feel like, particularly yesterday, the better performances came later on in the matches?
Oh yeah, definitely. Seemed like I started slow. I just couldn't find no consistency, or I just don't feel comfortable at the start. I don't know why. It just happens.
I suppose in terms of tonight, because it's a bit more of a knockout format, 2 matches, is it a case of trying to find a way of switching on as quickly as possible?
Yeah, got to do or die. You got to get the wins on the board early on.
We've seen you here make a couple of semi-finals in the past on a Saturday evening. Is the next step for you to take that next one, try and make a final, try and win a Saturday night here at the Super Series?
Definitely, yeah. That's why I'm here. I'd love to win one, to be fair. I've been down here too many times and come away without the trophy, so hopefully it'd be nice to take it down today.
And how would that compare to other things that you've done in your career? Because you've done a fair bit, you've won a tour card, you've played well in BDO/WDF events, so where would this compare to other achievements that you've had?
Yeah, I'd say it'd be up there with it. I mean, the standard that you've got here, I mean, it's basically like the Pro Tour, you know. The lads are great, it's tough. It makes you play better as well. So yeah, it'd be a big achievement, yeah.
We wish you all the very best this evening, Scott. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Love it. Gotta love that. What a display.
It's tops. It's perfectly pinned by Baker.
That is not shaky at all from Baker.
Could he be the winner of the sweet jackpot next week? The Mod here at the Super Series. But he's got to get the bread and butter done first if he's going to pick up the big dough this time next Saturday. But when it's Saturday, it's time to face the music. And you couldn't have a Saturday night's worth of entertainment without the X Factor now, could you? Paul Nicholson and Chris Murphy.
Yeah, I used to have the puns in the oven around here, Henry, but thanks for that effort. C-, see me. Scott Baker, the 38-year-old Tipton tosser, taking on the X Factor Andy Bolton in a mega matchup here at the Modus Super Series. Owen Binks, the referee, just ready to get the action going. A slight pause. The players just having a look. See what's going on. We will update whatever is the issue. I think the issue has been resolved. But Andy Bolton's got a big issue to resolve, hasn't he, Paul, after that 4-0 defeat at the hands of Cam Crabtree?
Yeah, hasn't he just? Cam played so well
60
to register the first 100-plus average of the entire week. He looks in great nick. The fact remains that Andy Bolton, even if he won 4-0, he wouldn't be safe yet.
100.
So the job here is very simple. Get a win by as big a margin as possible, which is what they're trying to do all the time anyway. And then hope
59.
that Crabtree takes Baker out as well. That is the most realistic thing for him to wish for.
One leg for Scott Baker would confirm Cam Crabtree in the semi-final lineup.
Yeah, Scott's played some decent darts this week.
137.
His best game came at the very end of his Group C campaign. And his best finish came with his last 3 darts, 136. Got an excellent win percentage this week of 80%. Andy's, courtesy of
30.
the first game in this group, is less than 50.
Much better by Bolton, though, in leg 1.
123. And he requires 40.
Needs to boss the game and stop Baker from getting chances.
35.
But he can't do that
And he
there.
requires 71.
That's happened too often this week.
Oh, that was bold. That was bold by Baker. Should have really, or I say should have. Who am I to argue when he got it right in the end? But 15 pulls the usual shot there, isn't it? 2 darts left.
Yeah. Do you know what that's the equivalent of? You go to a casino,
97.
you get a queen and a 7, and the dealer is showing an 8. And you think, do you know what? I'll take a card. Fact remains,
60.
he's gone the wrong way there, tactically, and he's still pulled it off.
I don't know about blackjack. He was playing roulette there, wasn't he, Scott Baker, with that approach? But he managed to, as you say, pull it off and put more pressure on Andy Bolton, and in turn, of course, send Cam Crabtree through.
I don't think it's a shock that Crabtree is going to be in the semis. I think the question remains, based on the standard we've seen tonight so far from all of the players, can anybody stop him? Can you imagine the bragging rights for Crabtree? If he wins tonight, the first person he's going to contact is Owen Bates, and he's going to say,
44.
I've got 2 weekly titles.
And maybe his support will be under accusations of being something of a jinx, because when he's not here, that's when Crabtree decides to thrive.
Time will tell.
But a bad day for Bolton so far. The football team
41.
suffered the Ox factor, didn't they, in the playoff final today? And now the X factor here looks like he could be wandering home at the end of the group stages.
100.
Yeah, that Murphy family have got some good footballers, haven't they?
99. And he requires 141.
Yeah, Oxford United had some really good times in the 70s, 80s and 90s, didn't they? And this is good. Andy Bolton's back. Best finish of the night from him, because that's his first leg.
Good luck, it's Andy to throw first. Game on.
And what a way to get it. He does find a little bit of that X factor. Saw that stunning 1-4-4 check out against him by Cam Crabtree earlier this evening. Now he produces a massive finish of his own.
If you think there's no pressure on Andy Bolton's shoulders tonight, think again. He knows that when he comes here to Portsmouth, he always makes Saturday. But his record in making the finals is exemplary as well. He does not want that to have a little asterisk against it. Earlier in this series,
78.
he did make the final of week number 2, where he lost out to Conor Heenahan, who had waited the best part of 18 months to win a week.
180.
The fans in the crowd getting sore shoulders from shoulder pressing the cards.
100. And he requires
Looks like Andy Bolton has lit the firework all of a sudden.
Maybe after another ton topper here. The intention was to bed the bullseye to
86.
leave himself double 8. He leaves tops in the end.
140. And he requires
Tops for Bolton then, to back up that 1-4-1 start.
Game shot on the third leg.
Now he's
Andy
cooking.
Bolton.
Scott Baker's in early trouble here.
Fourth leg, it's Scott to throw first.
This
Game
is always
on.
going to be a dynamite group. The fact that one of Baker, Bolton or Crabtree is going to go home before the semi-finals feels almost unfair based on their talent and reputation, but that's the nature of Group 2.
Yeah, we do see some weeks where one group looks rather more stacked than the other. I think that this is one of those weeks.
100.
This is that group.
And Bolton really has turned it on suddenly. Said in the previous match he was trying to find it. I think he's found it. The average now is up at 98. He's taken out a 141. He's had 5 visits of 2 trebles or more.
He has not averaged anywhere close to what he's doing in this match all week long.
59.
Best performance on Thursday was in match 4. And that was his first win of the week, 87.8.
99.
All of his numbers are drastically down on what we expect from Andy in a season where he's had more success on the Challenge Tour than ever before. He's won 2 Challenge Tour titles back-to-back this season.
124.
Bullseye for Baker.
99.
Just tried to nick the leg away, but Bolton can break here.
That doesn't help. And the ironic smile tells you everything you need to know. Baker for the equaliser. 25. The most common finish in this range.
9. And he requires 74.
Bolton didn't chip too much off that 105. It might only be 1 dart at the outer ring. Baker may well be back here. And not only is it only 1 dart, it's a difficult dart. He's having to move.
54.
Good attempt. Just not there.
Requires 16.
4 darts, Mr. Double A. Make that
8.
5.
And he required 20.
And Bolton is getting fortunate as well as playing better in this match. The angle, is it good? You bet it is.
On the 4th there, Andy Bolton.
Now Scott Baker has got an uphill battle and a half.
Game on.
If he wants to put Bolton out, he's got to win 3 straight legs against someone who is averaging a good 10 points better than him right now. If he can't do that, well, he's going to have to destroy Cam Crabtree, who is the best player of the night so far.
Yeah, it's starting to look like it is going the distance in these groups. For the second spots, Meulenkamp and Crabtree will know their fate before their matches. Don't know if that makes it harder or easier for their opponents.
80.
2-time semi-finalist Scott Baker. He's never made the championship match in a week.
180.
And there's a lot of doubt about whether he will tonight already. Back in Series 1, Week 10, he made the semis.
96.
And a few series later in week number 3 of Series 5, he was back in the Final 4. But things are getting so tight right now, he might have to wait another series to have a chance. But is there a twist in the tail? As Bolton just comes off the top a little bit here.
Yeah, they were the kind of darts he was throwing in the first match. Over pitching.
91.
Severely under pitching there, Scott Baker. On the attempt at tops. When you've got a player who's got his rhythm, it's very difficult, I imagine, to visit different sections of the board in the same visit.
I'm convinced that last dart from Baker actually slipped out of his hand. Oh no.
15.
Now he's got to survive this match-winning opportunity for Andy. It's a difficult ask, but we have seen shots like this week. He went old school. There are 2 different ways of doing it that are more popular now. The 54 first, or the true treble 17s for the double 16 shot. He stayed true to his roots.
Scott, you require 5.
Does he get a shot at tops? It's up to you, Scott.
Game shot on the 5th leg, Scott Baker. 6th leg,
just
Scott to throw first. Game
limbering up Andy Bolton. He is now in a a knockout match.
You know, Andy Bolton reminds me of a very famous old wrestler called Diamond Dallas Page.
83.
I think if Andy was to come up with his own yoga routine, it would be very popular. Because DDP's got his own
55.
yoga that he does. Very popular worldwide. But I think there's nobody in world darts who follows the strict routine of limbering up at the back of the stage more than Andy. A lot of players who do have discomforts in the upper body or lower body,
97.
they tend to keep the movements quite small, but he's not shy in doing what he needs to do.
Well, he knows what he needs to do on the dartboard, and that's find plenty more trebles, big
78.
trebles, and get that match-winning double. But this, he's looking like going the distance. Well, that helps him.
43.
Only 43 by Baker.
Well, just like the last match, it could all hinge on one 501 straight start double out leg. That's a brilliant last start.
140.
Gets him into 2-dart range. And Baker could be cooked
140.
in as little as 2
And
darts.
require 100.
Tops. Not enough gas.
Scott, you require 66.
And is Andy Bolton going to run out of steam?
He's going to stay there and leave double 18.
30.
So close.
And he require 40.
I bet he thought that was in when he hit it.
Game.
But Andy Bolton does hit it. And a 4-2 scoreline for Bolton keeps him alive for now. The permutations will be fairly complex for group number 2 when we come to game 6, which will be Baker against Crabtree. But for now, Andy Bolton does stand a chance of making it through to the semi-finals yet again. It was an improved performance. That 1-4-1 stood him in good stead because it started very, very well. Baker is up against it against Crabtree in game number 6. But before we get there, Keelan Kay has got to try and take out Ron Meulenkamp.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where before the break, Andy Bolton did his job, keeping his hopes of progressing through Group 2 alive. And now for Keelan Kay, he is hoping to do his job correctly as well. If he can get the better of Ron Meulenkamp, he'll find himself into the semi-finals. Ron's already there, and he is playing for Chris Hurds in the practice room. Watching this one in the commentary box, Chris Murphy, Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Henry. We are down to the final 2 qualifying matches in Group 1 and Group 2. But this is it for Group 1. Keelan Kay making his debut on a Saturday night here in Portsmouth. He now needs to beat the Group A winner from the first 3 days of the week. It's a tall task. Based on numbers, you've got to fancy the bomb.
Game on.
But Keelan's got the darts, he's got to use them well, and this would be a really good time to find your best performance of the week. Something akin to what he did in Game 4 on Thursday. Around about the 85 and change average. Is that going to be good enough, Murph?
Yeah, he needs to... Well, what I think Keelan Kay needs to do is play for a full match like he played at the start of his previous match, because he was out of the blocks quick. First couple of legs. Ron Meulenkamp really set the tone for the evening, and
60.
On paper you would expect wins for Meulenkamp and Crabtree, despite the fact that they're both throwing second in the games. But Henry put it well, they're actually out almost playing for another player now.
140.
Strange scenario where there were 3 people involved in the relationship.
44.
Yeah, slightly complicated.
What part of life these days is not complicated? And let's face facts. When is a Saturday night uncomplicated here? Almost never.
It was starting to look pretty straightforward at one point, but 2 are through.
81. Running record 124.
And 4 await their fate. 2 of them will have the chance to do something about it. The other 2 will wait in the practice room and hope that those players that are through do it for them.
Who would you rather be? Would you rather be in the clubhouse?
84.
Or would you rather be on the course? To use a golfing analogy. Well, it's not about climate. That's one thing when it comes to darts.
59.
So you can't expect a little bit of rain and wind to spoil the chances of the people on the oche. However, Meulenkamp is looking at 10s.
20.
And he's missed 3, offering Keelan a slim chance of taking the first leg.
2 treble 20s and a double 20.
100.
So back for double 10 for Meulenkamp to break in the first leg and allow Chris Hurds to put his feet up for a little bit.
Oh, that's awkward because of the flight.
10.
6 darts missed for the first leg.
60.
One thing Chris Hurds is thinking is, please don't relax, Ron. There's double 15 for Keelan.
32.
Oh, by some sort of route, he's left double 14 from 60.
Does have something for himself to play for here on Meulenkamp. As he wins the first leg, 3 legs will secure him top spot in this group.
Second leg, it's Ron to throw first. Game on.
I think when you're playing your second game as well, on a Saturday, all you want to have to do to get through, you're not really bothered about winning the group and coming second if you're in Keelan's shoes. You just want to get through.
96.
You'd like it to be a shootout match. You don't want to have to win by a margin. And it just so happens that he is in that position.
60.
Whether he knows it or not right now, he's learning while he's playing. He'll play now and he'll learn later. Exactly from what he's done.
58.
I know Keelan's dad, Mark, is a very, very big fan of his young lad, as he should be. He supported him for years already. They've both got high hopes for his darts career. And he's got many, many years ahead of him. This is just another step in the right direction tonight.
Well, he's between them, they've come up with a very confident nickname, haven't they? Calling him the Lord of the Board.
100.
Up your neck of the woods, there wouldn't even be a "the" there. Be a Lord at board.
Thanks for that. But I tell you what, I'm here for it. It certainly
100.
beats Hurdsy. I think all nicknames that are just sort of normal little Y's and I's added onto the name should be banned.
147.
I couldn't agree more. I made that point on Thursday about Chris Hurds. I thought he's got the hair, he's got the shirt, he's got the darts, he hasn't got the nickname.
97.
Yeah, it should be called Everybody, shouldn't it?
It was a strange twist of fate. At the boxing tonight, there was a guy who was knocked out in round 1 called the Wealth Machine. And he was bankrupt after about 2 minutes. This is tops for Ron. It's not been bombastic so far in the doubles, that's for sure.
Keelan, you require
What if you are going to
73.
stay in it? These are the moments that you need to produce. It's going to be one dart at tops, and Keelan Kay does produce. Cancels out the break, puts his fate back in his own hands.
Third leg, it's Keelan to throw first.
Do you know how I
Game
categorised
on.
that shot? That was KOK. And if he does have a strength, after watching him for the last 4 or 5 years,
140.
when he's in full flow, it's those shots that I feel he's very, very good at. When he's got one dart at tops on the end of a combination, like
100.
something like 73, where it's 2 singles to leave one dart at tops, I think that is maybe his biggest asset in his game. There are things that need
85.
polishing. Of that, there's no doubt. But he does have a great darting brain. He makes good decisions. He's still got work to do in that department. But he could look at someone like Ron Meulenkamp and learn a lot. He's been there and done it over the last 15 years. But I've said it
45.
for the last 4 seasons. If I could do one thing for Keelan, it would be minimising those darts to the left of target. It's been a problem for approaching half a decade.
100.
And it must be something technical that needs polishing.
87. Ronnie require
That's not too bad. And he's left 144, which Crabtree took earlier. Meulenkamp is not going to take the 1-2-1. He went the risky bull route. But in this spot, I would say that that could have been the right calculated play.
Keelan, you require 144.
It depends on how likely this is for Keelan. Not very likely, unfortunately for him. He's picked up pretty well after that. But Ron is looking for that break of throw. And he gets it.
Break, break, break. And the brakes are on once again. Keelan Kay's campaign to get back in this race.
Game on.
One more leg for Ron, and he wins the group. And he will have the darts in the first semi-final. And will play the runner-up of Group 2.
45.
And one thing we do know, if he wins one more leg, he's not going to play Cam Crabtree in the semis.
60.
Not by the looks of it, anyway. Players like Meulenkamp have spent a great deal of time in this town in the last year.
134.
When you come here for the first time, you might wonder, well, where do I go? What do I do when I've got a bit of time off? It's at the stage now
125.
where Ron knows this town very, very well. He knows exactly what he can do when he has a couple of days off like this week. Cam Crabtree was saying last night that he was going to the beach
100.
and getting his strides in and getting as much fresh air as possible. And Ron was saying earlier tonight he was doing exactly the same.
140.
Still scrapping here, Keelan, but Meulenkamp can really put the pressure on. Just making sure he leaves a finish now. Could score 58, just go for the 19s, even if he doesn't find a treble.
He just wanted to make sure he was doing the right thing.
58.
That was an experienced turn there from Ron. Because sometimes when you're under pressure, your brain can go to mush. And something that is so fundamental can become complicated for about 10 seconds. In those spots, you step back, you take a breath, and you refocus. That's exactly what he did.
Well, the 73 was much needed by Keelan Kay. This 1-2-1 is equally as important and may need to go. Treble 17 can't be found, so Meulenkamp returns for a 3-1 lead.
Based on what's happened this week, that wasn't likely because Keelan has not got a ton plus finish this week. He's the only person who's made Saturday night not to get one. That was...
I can't believe he's gone bull with a second dart.
42.
Me either. Especially after what happened on dart 1.
For me, it's a treble 14, maybe even a treble 20, but Meulenkamp made his mind up, and Meulenkamp is made to pay.
What did I say when he hit the 73? If he's got one strength, it's doing things like that, and he's just done it again. Don't leave him on something like 73 or 78 because that is the best part of his game. I've noticed it for years.
30.
But I'm with you, Murph. Going bull on dart 2 there for the bomb. A lot of people would still do that, but if you're looking at surface area to try and leave yourself any shot to win the leg, the 42 is bigger than the bull.
Yeah, two darts in hand. I'm even an advocate of 2 darts just going for a treble 20 to get any double. It's the treble you throw at the most. The one that you're most comfortable hitting, but I think it was almost out of frustration that Meulenkamp probably stayed there, just tried to force it in. Kay, though, has to be credited. Every single leg in this match going against the throw so far. And shots like that mean that that trend may well continue.
I think Ron's got some fans out there. Another drift from Keelan. And space to breathe for Ron. In what could be the closest game of the night. If we go all the way. Keelan's already been there with Chris Hurds.
74.
I think the form book is following what we thought it would, standard-wise. We're getting the best stuff from Group 2.
140.
This group is just a bit more attritional.
110.
But 110 for Meuly. He might stay there. Again, it's a 50-50 call.
Skilling you require 153.
But he will hope to get a shot at double 12. He might not.
88. Runner required 24.
So double 12 becomes double 6.
Game shown.
And with that, Ron Meulenkamp wins Group 1. He will play in the first semi-final and will throw first.
Game on.
The advantage of being a group winner. And that counts even if he goes on to lose this game.
Shouldn't be a surprise. He won through his group and had the darts and the Champions Night in the previous series.
25.
When it comes to the ideal path of winning a week here at the Modus Super Series, I spoke about it with Bradley Roos early in the series. He showed exactly what you want to do if you come here on a Monday morning. Win Group A, win Group 1, win the week. That is the ideal blueprint. And Ron Meulenkamp is 2/3 of the way there.
If he wins this leg, we'll know who goes through with him. Chris Hurds,
137.
who was beaten by Meulenkamp, battered by Meulenkamp in the first match 4-1, but then got the better of Keelan Kay. After being 2-0 behind in that as well, let's not forget. Showed some character, did Chris?
Didn't he just?
45.
Needs more first darts like that.
140.
I think that's what he's got to work on. Get that first dart right and work on the line of the dart thereafter. England has got 3 representatives in Champions Week next week. The Netherlands have got 2. Ireland's got 2. And if Meulenkamp can win tonight,
136.
he'd be there with Jimmy Van Schie and Bradley Roos.
$82. Ronnie require 115.
1 point in it, 1 leg in it. But it could be over, and it will be over if Meulenkamp mops up. Can't finish now.
I've seen more people going for 19s on 1-4 than ever before recently. But Keelan's very traditional. That's what you need. That's happened too much in the last 48 hours, and it may have just cost him a spot in the semis.
You know, 2 darts on 54 as well. I quite like the 18s route, because had he dropped in the same position, he'd have still had a dart at the bullseye.
74.
He wasn't expecting to miss the single, that's the thing.
87.
And if you're smart here, you'll get at least a shot at the bull.
Just stay straight. And now the bomb wants the ball.
56.
Hates it. Now we'll see what Keelan's like with 3 darts in hand for tops.
Keelan, you require 40.
Well, this has been a game where every leg so far has been won against throw.
Game
and that continues. But it's on a night where every single match has been won with throw.
7th and final leg, it's Keelan to throw first. Game on.
It's another situation for Keelan Kay where it's a 1-leg shootout. He had a chance to qualify in the 7th leg against Hurds.
30.
However, by losing that leg against Chris, he knew he had a second chance against Ron. This 1-leg shootout, if he wins this time, he will join Meulenkamp in the semis. But if he loses it, no more chances. That's a great visit. A great recovery after only a 30 start. How many times do we see it? Where somebody stumbles in the group, still wins the group, and goes on to win the night. The ideal scenario is turn up, win 4 games, and off you go. But it's so often not that simple.
There would be a certain irony if Kay wins this match that Chris Hurds, who managed to qualify for finals night on averages, would end up going out on leg difference in the group stage.
140.
He's gone through the emotional mill even.
I thought you were doing your Yorkshire accent again then.
Spent a bit too much time with you over the years.
100.
Yeah, the emotional mill. I think we might have to give it a new name. Darts can hurt, but nothing hurts more than Hurds. And that's only if Kay does 151
100.
at this visit, potentially.
151.
Chris Hurds waiting, watching, maybe even wincing. So they'll be hoping that Ron Meulenkamp is winning.
Ronnie require 95.
Options here. Could be treble 19, could be the bull.
He's been hurt on the bullseye start. And now he's looking at 2 double 19s. And another.
57.
Well, that is the miss. that could cost Chris.
Keelan requires 66.
And Keelan K steps forward to go through at Hurds' expense.
Whatever you do, Keelan, if you don't get treble 10, leave tops with the last dart.
It is tops.
46.
But he fails to find it. Now what does Ron do? Straight for it, or does he split? Double 19. And one dart at double 8. Meulenkamp has already topped the group. But he's done it by winning both of his games. And in beating Keelan K, the Dutchman keeps Chris Hurds in the tournament. And you can see that despite the fact he knew he was going through and he knew he was winning this group, it still meant everything to him to ensure he got the win. It's been a very, very strong week for Meulenkamp, and he's emerging as one of the favourites to take the title tonight and seal a return to Champions Week. Coming next then, Scott Baker takes on Cam Crabtree. Andy Bolton is the player watching, waiting and hoping for a Crabtree win.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where before the break, Ron Meulenkamp sealed the place of Chris Hurds into the semi-finals, getting the better of Keelan K by 4 legs to 3. Our final game of the group stage, he sees Cam Crabtree up against Scott Baker. A win for Cam would send Andy Bolton into the semi-finals. Over Scott can win this match, then it is going to be himself alongside Cam in the final 4. Watching this one in the commentary box, Paul Nicholson and Chris Murphy.
Yeah, cheers, Henry. Similar scenario to the previous match. Baker win sends him through. A Crabtree win sends Bolton through. Ron Meulenkamp will play the runner-up of this group in the first of our semi-finals. Chris Hurds will play the winner in the second. And then the final, which will see somebody make off with a nice
60.
Sizable check and a return next week at Champions Week.
Doing a Scott Taylor. winner of week 12 in Series 6. He stuck around, and he was in Portsmouth for about 2 weeks.
60.
Yeah, I did mention our Champions Week lineup earlier. We'll get another look at that as the night goes on. But just a little side note, as Baker makes his presence felt, that Bo Greaves will be in Portsmouth for 2 weeks, whatever happens on Champions Week. Because, of course, following that, we have our first ever Women's Week here at the Modus Super Series.
55.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's not just about Sherrick and Greaves and some of the other big hitters like Hedman and Gulliver. I'm looking forward to seeing the likes of Lorraine Winstanley, Doreen Hyde, Kirsty Vinakainen.
And, of course, our very own Laura Turner out of the comms box onto the stage.
Got your record 161.
And for a lot of those players, it's their first chance to play on that stage.
97.
This is a hot start from Baker. He needs to win at the expense of Cam, who played superbly in his first game.
140. He's got your record 64.
I think the referee's going to have to be right on this. This is going to be fast. Double 16.
32. Can you record?
I don't think Baker's quite as quick as he was when he was on the PDC Pro Tour. A little bit more deliberation in the throw. Still rapid, but just not quite as rapid.
I think certain players are starting to make him look slower. I'm not sure that's the case.
There's
nothing slow about that first leg. 16 darter in less than 2 minutes. That'll do very nicely. 1/4 of the way there.
Always fascinated by Crabtree's approach. He almost throws himself to the floor, doesn't he, before sort of springing back up a little bit. Very similar, I think, to peak Michael van Gerwen.
Very much so. The weight is in the right hip. And that front leg, it's not locked, but there's a lot of weight going through the femur, which is the upper leg bone, and then down through the front of the foot.
And the actual position, the point of reference being the mouth, it's almost like he grew up watching Michael van Gerwen and has kind of mimicked him somewhat. But his action is now closer to what Michael van Gerwen's was 10 years ago than Michael van Gerwen's now is.
Yeah, that's true. Each action through a career will
57.
evolve. Phil Taylor is a great example of that. Some players are really fortunate that their actions don't change at all.
140.
I don't think John Lowe's changed from 1978 all the way through to the mid-90s.
$58.
Baker will be looking to get into 2-dart territory here with 2 big trebles. There's 1.
95.
He's left a shot that Cam Crabtree has hit 3 times this week. It's not going to be another biggie for Cam, who had a 144 in his first match. So can Baker do it? Can he get past it? He can. Double top.
100. Can you require 48?
Crabtree then for parity. Options here, same area of the board, 16s and 8s. Chooses 16s for double thereof. He thought it was in.
I think he might have been puzzled by the first start, which went in a bit upright.
32. Scott, you require 20.
Disgust on the face of Cam Crabtree, but it won't
Game shot on the second leg.
be as miserable as the one etched on the expression of Andy Bolton in the practice room, that's for sure.
Delegate Scott to throw first. Game on.
You're not wrong. This could be the night that sees X Factor not making the final for the first time.
60.
He might not even make the final 4.
Needs a couple of legs to win the group, Cam Crabtree, if he is to lose the match. There is a danger here that he's beaten heavily, falls into second place, ends up playing against Ron Meulenkamp in the semis, and that seems quite a
60.
tough test.
And that didn't seem fathomable as little as 15 minutes ago.
57.
But this week has been all about the borderline unfathomable. That situation in Group C.
97.
I'm never going to forget that, ever. It was so tight. And you've got to give props to Baker, who qualified through that situation by chiefing the group.
We mentioned Scott's speed. Is Cam Crabtree slowing this game down a little here?
I'm not sure he's slowing the game down. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying not to get caught in the crossfire here. Because when you're playing someone like Baker, like a Klassen, or someone of that speed, you can easily get swept up into a faster game that you want to play. And there has to be a time where you just say, okay, mini timeout, let's just play our speed.
Yeah, remember the famous Grand Slam bout between Raymond van Barneveld and James Wade. Well, that's fine. That'll do fine by Scott Baker.
Baker is finding the gears. And if he keeps speeding up, he could win this group after losing his first match.
No score.
Is that the moment that script started to be ripped up and another one written? Crabtree can break. Does break.
Cam Crabtree. Fourth leg, it's Cam to throw first. Game on.
Well, Murph, what about if Scott Baker does not win this leg?
96.
How is he starting to feel then, after that explosive start and squandering the chance of being 3-0 up?
Well, he will then know that he can only settle for second best in the group, because if he loses this leg, Crabtree will secure top spot.
58.
But the problem, I imagine, and you've played it, Paul, and you're much more qualified to make this point than me, but I guess that in this short
60.
format, first to 4 legs, which is what we play here at the Super Series throughout, it must be so difficult not to let a big moment like that not fester in the front of your mind and affect the rest of the match, which then could be over very quickly.
Especially in matches like this, where they sail by. This game has almost
59.
got 4 completed legs
167.
in less than 8 minutes. Is he going for it? Silly question. He is a bit of a showman at a very young age. And he got the oohs and the ahs, but he didn't get the bees.
41. Cam, you require
Crabtree
25.
trying to clean up the remainder. And can do so on double eight, in double eight. Level in the match. And now the winner of the group. So confirmation that the second semi-final will be Cam Crabtree against Chris Hurds. The first will be Ron Meulenkamp against either this man or Andy Bolton.
Now we've got to reference something that Cam said in the very early hours of this morning. We talked to him as he hits another maximum. He said, looking at Group 1,
100.
there's a big opportunity for someone like Kay or Hurds to make the semi-finals. But he said, honestly, if I can win my group,
60.
and I've got to play one of those guys who finishes second, which turns out that is the case, that's a fabulous opportunity for me to make the final.
Well, it's turned out to be an excellent analysis, and I think that your job is under threat, Paul. I've never heard anyone get so much so right before a show. He did take to the commentary box briefly during the Influencers event that was held here. He was actually like a duck to water, Cam Crabtree.
I just think he's really comfortable with the microphone, with the cameras, with everything to do with this place. And I think young stars like Cam are more prepared for every aspect of professional sport than ever before. But Baker,
57.
you do feel
71.
that he's got to impose himself on his own throat.
Big 180 that was. Previous visit.
51.
Probably bought him another opportunity. However, Crabtree's already taken this out tonight.
Oh, it's a bad deflection. He fancied it as well. If Baker hits 20, he's going to have 2 chances to join Cam in the final 4.
82. Scott, you require 20.
Double 10. Double 5.
10.
They were so close.
Cam, you require
So
62.
cruelly close.
he's had more than double the amount of darts at double that Karma's had in this match, and he could be behind.
46.
Fine margins
Scott,
this
you're
time
required 10.
for the lad from Croydon.
Game show
And
the
Baker
fifth.
is very
Scott
much still
Baker.
alive. One more leg, and he will join the man in pink in the
Super gets
semis
Cam to throw
at the
first.
expense of
Game
X
on.
Factor, who right now is thinking that he could be packing the dart case away for the night.
76.
It's not a bad performance from Baker. It's an 82 average.
54.
But he has imposed himself when he's had the darts at the start of the legs, forcing Crabtree to do something spectacular.
125.
But he has missed 9 darts at double. Cam himself has missed 4.
81.
They're being supported in the audience tonight by PDC Tour card holder and European Tour finalist Martin Lukeman, who would have been cheering a 180 but for the bounce out. And Lukeman has had a little chat with our backstage team tonight. His quickfire questions are available for you to view on Instagram, Facebook and
95.
TikTok. Some interesting answers. Make sure you are following us across all platforms, because we do have a real variety of content, including some very special things coming soon. More on that later.
I had a little chat with Smash earlier. He's in a pretty good place with his game, but he wants to get better.
170.
Just like that from Baker, who asks the question, are we going all the way?
60.
We might not be.
Scott, you require 100.
Baker gets his chance. Oh, that is again another bold move. But it pays off for Baker,
Scott Baker,
who delivers the goods. And by beating Cam Crabtree, he eliminates Andy Bolton, who'd never failed to make it through to a final, but he will not be in the final 4. It's Baker and Crabtree, Hurds and Meulenkamp, the semi-final lineup tonight. And that win for Baker sees him seal a spot in that first semi-final against Ron Meulenkamp, which will be coming up very, very shortly indeed.
Hang on a minute.
Wow! Oh my God! Well, that's £100 down the drain already. Itching to hit the 180. He's gone for the maximum.
Team for the ball. Ball.
53.
No, he said bull. That's a great first out from Adam. Oh, look at this. He's going to leave Scape.
Oh, can you believe it? That is unbelievable. Get match darts to put his team into the final. And through to the final they go. Charlie Murphy has hit the match-winning dart on both occasions. Double 4 for the title.
Please show your appreciation for the winner of the Influencer Pairs event, George Scaife and Adam Lipscomb.
He seems to be out, that's what he is, Charlie Murphy. A couple more visits yet. We're not going to need that.
Bosh.
Pie face is through. He gets
And he's absolutely buzzing.
It was a game that Pie face dominated throughout.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where we have completed the group stage worth of action here at the live lounging pause on this Saturday. And this is what we've seen so far tonight. We've seen some real drama. We haven't even got into the semi-finals as of yet. Rob Meulenkamp did the job for Chris Hurds, winning 4-3 in the last game to send him through at the expense of Meulenkamp. Before the break, Scott Baker sent himself into the final four. He's got a meeting with Rob Meulenkamp after getting the better Cam Crabtree by 4-2. Crabtree will take on Chris Hurds in our second semi-final. Myself and Paul Nicholson have been analysing and watching all of the action throughout the course of the evening. The asset in the commentary box. And I just want to get your overall assessment around the evening so far, because it felt like a lot of players have brought that level up, and I think they needed to on this Saturday night.
Yeah, some people have, and I think we still have questions about the final four. Even Crabtree, who played supremely well in his first game, he did go down once he had attained his spot at the top of the table. And you've got to give Scott Baker a lot of credit. Whenever he's asked a question, he always seems to be able to find another gear when he needs it. And he could be the one that springs a surprise tonight, because if he starts to find more gears through the semi-finals and final, he could easily sweep people aside. That was a great finish against Crabtree to put Andy Bolton out, and I suppose that is the story that takes precedence.
Let's have a look at that finish for Scott then against Cam, because that was a seesaw encounter, and that takes a lot of composure in that particular moment to take out a finish like that.
Yeah, I think when you've got 100 left, you've got options if you miss the first dart. So you look at where this one goes, and in a flash, he knows exactly what he's going to do. So he goes straight for the 48, down for the 32, and predominantly what you see from younger stars these days is either a step back or an automatic shot at tops. Scott Baker is obviously more comfortable going for the shot down in the southwest corner. It worked really well, and it's got his way through to the semi-finals for a third time.
Well, the only player who's got an undefeated record so far this evening is Ron the Bomb Meulenkamp, and it feels like we've not really spoken up his chances still at this point.
Yeah, I think he's going under the radar because he's not still playing the best darts of his week. He's just ploughing along, taking his chances, and when he was playing against Meulenkamp, who was waiting on double 10 to make his way through, it was Ron who put him in the bin. And is he playing his best stuff tonight? Absolutely not. But he may just find his best stuff at the end. He'll be hoping that he does.
And how many times have we seen a week here at the Super Series where a player like Ron, doing what Ron does, finds a way of getting over the line, because that sheer efficiency and consistency, that will beat a player that will have one high, one low.
Well, I think with Meulenkamp, if you give him the right motives, and the motive at the minute is to continually improve, he wants to find the best version of himself throughout the course of the year. So he's not pressing the panic button in his career at the minute. He's looking to build towards Ron 3.0, not 2.0. But the spots that he's had this week have been very promising. The great start Monday, the continuation of form to make Wednesday easier. And tonight, he had the darts in the first match. He took full advantage of that. And then he took full advantage of his opportunities in the second match. By doing that, he's now got the darts in the semi-finals. So he's like a poker player at the table, constantly finding himself with chips and in position, and he's using that well. It's just a question of whether he does it well against his opponent, Scott Baker, in the semis.
In terms of Cam Crabtree, how would you assess his overall performance? Or is it quite difficult because there are two different manners of performances?
Yeah, it's more like Thursday. One really good performance and one not so. I think when there's this somewhat cutthroat scenario of, if my first win is so good, I don't have to do a great deal to succeed in game two. Subconsciously, you're thinking, do I need to have the same intensity as the first game? It's difficult to keep it. If you can keep it, fair play to you. But he's still done enough to win the group, and he will have the darts in the semi-finals. But now it's knockout. You've got to have that intensity from pretty much the start of the semi to the end.
And what a story Chris Hurds is beginning to become here at the Super Series. Gets through by the skin of his teeth in the group stages in Group C. Gets through by the skin of his teeth in the group stages here. He's probably going to win 4-3, 4-3 now if he's going to go and win the thing.
I don't even think he knows how he's in the semi-finals, but his first Saturday night has yielded a semi-final chance. If we finally see the best of him, who knows what kind of story we're going to have on top of Andy Davidson from week 11. This could be another ADC jackpot story, But he's going to have to do it the hard way. But then again, he's done everything the hard way this week.
He most certainly has. And so that sets up our 2 semi-finals here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. Cam Crabtree against Chris Hurds. That's going to be our second semi-final. That's scheduled to kickstart in around about 25 minutes' time. But semi-final number 1 is going to see Ron Meulenkamp and Scott Baker in action. Scott's effectively in that winner stays on territory moment here. And the action is almost ready to get underway.
But he's done it by winning both of his games. And in beating Keelan Kay, the Dutchman. Oh, that is again another bold move. But it pays off for Baker.
So our first semi-final sees Ron Meulenkamp and Scott Baker go toe-to-toe. 2 stalwarts of the BDO system towards the latter days of that particular system. And they're hoping they can have some red letter days here in Portsmouth. They both hope to be on that stage this time next week, because if they are, they'll be a couple of games away from £25,000. It's our first semi-final, and we're going to watch it in the company of Paul Nicholson and Chris Murphy.
Thank you very much, Henry. Yeah, the semi-final's about to get underway, and the final place at Champions Week will be filled from these 4 players. The first 2 about to do battle. Ron Meulenkamp, who's had a really good week here, bossed Group A for the first couple of days. Maybe took his foot off the gas a little bit on Wednesday, but has made sure he's prepared for this finals night. But Scott Baker, well, he had a job to do in the match that we've just seen, and he did that job. Victory over Cam Crabtree that he thoroughly deserved, Paul. And we can't write either him or Chris Hurds off now.
No, we can't.
First leg,
because now that it's knockout darts, anything's possible. That performance from Baker, 85 average against Crabtree. He gave himself 13 darts at a double against arguably the best player of the week.
140.
It's the kind of nightly average that he's got, a shade over 86, that can do a lot of damage this week, unless you do what Cam did in Game 2 tonight, where he averaged nearly 102, the only 100 average we've had all week.
Meulenkamp has been
100.
solid. Yeah, was taken to a deciding leg against Keelan Kay, but really looked through as soon as he beat Chris Hurds by such a handsome scoreline, 4-1. And excellent in Group A, as mentioned. He went on a fantastic run. Won. It was actually his first 12 matches, wasn't it, Ron Meulenkamp? First 13 games, wasn't it? Oh, sorry, 10, yeah. First 10, and then lost his first match on... I missed that one out. He lost to Josh Carter, didn't he? First match on Wednesday.
I think that was maybe the biggest shock of the week. Now, it's a shock that Andy Bolton has not made the semi-finals. He'll be devastated at losing his perfect record of making finals. But considering how dominant Ron Meulenkamp was in Group A, losing his first match of Wednesday was a shock to everybody, including Ron himself, because his opportunity of getting 30 points and being the first person to do so in a Group A situation, it evaporated about as soon as we started talking about it.
Yeah, it was 10 in a row, 12 out of 13, and eventually 13 out of 15, which is a very good return in that group.
And he's the only undefeated player tonight.
And the only player from that group that's here tonight. Well, I say here, Johan Brewer is here, but not involved in the competition.
Yeah, I bet he's itching to get on the stage, but we're not going to let him.
You might hear him if this goes in.
This is going to go in. That was a perfect guide for Ron. And having the darts in the semi-finals is a reward of winning your group.
Second leg, it's Scott to throw first.
Meulenkamp with 4 points and a leg difference of +4. That's very solid. But for Baker, Murph, this is his 3rd attempt in a semi-final. He is yet to win a Final Four match. Somebody is starting to find that adrenaline. I think he enjoyed that maximum.
85.
Certainly is enjoying himself tonight. And he's an enjoyable watch, Ron Meulenkamp. Had some good times in his Pro Tour career, had some tough times as well. There were a few implosions.
85.
Things didn't go his way.
Some people forget that he made a European Tour semi-final.
Remember him beating Gary Anderson at Minehead.
100.
Some decent runs in some big tournaments, but there were also moments towards the end of his spell. I remember a match, I think it was with Cristo Reyes. What a name he would be to get here to the Super Series, by the way. Cristo Reyes, yeah, and there was real anger. He's got that in him, hasn't he? He's got a little fuse that if it's lit, it can really go off.
96.
Definitely. If Ron was a firework, he wouldn't be a sparkler. He'd be something that goes boom. I wonder if he's called the bomb.
140.
Well, this would be an explosive checkout. Not going to happen.
Go treble 12. Don't go for the 20 here.
100.
Oh, he's got skill.
36.
Here's me talking about the safe plate. The right one here is double 9. He's made it smaller.
18. Ronnie required 40.
Is it going to be semi-final heartbreak again for the mod? It might just be, because the bomb is halfway to the final again. The last time he was in a semi-final, it was in Champions Week.
Game on.
He lost out. He has been to a final before in the previous series, where he lost out to another Dutchman.
134.
Now, that's a good call on Cristo Reyes, by the way. That would make for a really interesting video
81.
package if he came here, because he just doesn't play top-level darts anymore.
Yeah, just not sure what he is doing. The once top player from Spain hails in Tenerife, doesn't he?
So good he was.
Brilliant. He was the match with Van Gerwen at the World Championship.
Well, there was a time when he was a seed on the European Tour, and we were lauding him, saying he's the next best opportunity for a PDC new title winner. And it never happened. And then when it came to around 2019, 2020, it just so happened that his career stopped because of COVID-19.
40.
He just hasn't resurrected it. But maybe we could extend the invitation to the man from Tenerife to say, do you want to come to the south coast of England and start again? Funny things have happened.
Well, right now, Ron Meulenkamp is in control.
85.
And that last dart might just about keep control, but Baker is tapping on his shoulder here.
100. Ronnie require 142.
There have been some great finishes tonight. Bolton got a 141. Crabtree got a 144. But something else in that range is not going to be found right here. But if you can leave it handy, that 97 becomes more difficult, especially after that.
Scott, you require 97.
He can't get a shot at a double.
57. Ronnie require
And the bomb is on
24.
Dream Street.
Game shot.
He's not looking back at all.
Ron Meulenkamp.
He is firmly in control at this stage. And Scott Baker's expression tells you everything you need to know. Another semi-final, and it could be another nightmare.
Yeah, it's been good value for
60.
the margin here. Ron Meulenkamp, the margin in the averages is vast. 10 points better off Meulenkamp. And that becomes even greater with that second 140.
80.
Ron's best performance in a match came on Monday. 97.03. It wouldn't be the first time he saves his best performance for a Saturday, because he did that in Champions Week the last time he was here.
And what a time to peak. He's 3 figures now. And he might be getting rid of Scott Baker in 4 legs now. Oh, superb. Treble 13.
If he goes on to win tonight, Ron Meulenkamp's biggest headache might be trying to get a hotel for next week. That's something that Jeroen Mioch did in a previous series by winning week 12. He scrambled all Sunday trying to get a hotel.
You got a spare sofa? Well, he might need one, but the booking process may be delayed if Baker can pull out a plum.
He's plumless. And after 2 match darts, Meulenkamp comes back.
Ronnie require 10.
The big deep breath. And the hit. He can only get one more.
Well, there was some little disturbance there before that, and I just wonder if he's allowed it to put him off a little bit. He needs to regather himself here on Meulenkamp, because if he loses this leg, that could eat away at him. Well done. Fantastic. Meulenkamp gets the job done, and he gets it done in style. A 4-0 success over Scott Baker. Meulenkamp's team very, very pleased indeed, but not as pleased as he is with that performance. A 96.97 average, a couple of maximums in there as well, and a polished performance that sees Meulenkamp make the final, and he stands 1 win away from a return to Champions Week. Who will he meet? We'll find out after the short break as Cam Crabtree takes on Chris Hurds.
Hang on a minute.
Wow! Oh my God! Well, that's £100 down the drain already. Itching to hit the 180. He's gone for the maximum.
18 for the bull. Bull.
53.
No, he said bull. That's a great first start from Adam. Oh, look at this. He's going to leave Skate.
Oh, can you believe it? That is unbelievable. Get match darts to put his team into the final. And through to the final they go. Charlie Murphy has hit the match-winning dart on both occasions. Number 4 for the title.
Please show your appreciation for the winner of the Influencer Pairs event, George Scaife and Adam Lipscomb.
He seems to be out, that's what he is, Charlie Murphy. A couple more visits yet. We're not going to need that.
Oh, Bosh.
Pie Face is through.
And he's absolutely buzzing.
It was a game that Pie Face dominated throughout.
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where Ron Meulenkamp is through to the final with a minimum of fuss, getting the better of Scott Baker by 4-0 before the break. Well, the players are in a race to make it through to Champions League, and only one player has won more than one title here at the Modus Super Series. That name, Luke Littler, and he hasn't done too bad since, has he?
Put the boat to darts. Be careful what you wish for. How many youngsters have come through, these have all said this is the next big thing. Really.
It's mentally tough in what he's going through right now, so I did understand where Gary Anderson was coming from.
The media are needy. Honestly, you haven't got a clue.
If we can't just be excited and embrace that, yeah, I'm out.
Give yourselves a pat in the back.
It's up to the media themselves to be responsible.
Well, this is going to be the next big thing. And that's it. Pressure's on them. All goes Pete Tong, goes in it.
Yeah, we've got a brand new documentary on Luke Littler, which is premiering on the Super Series YouTube channel on Monday morning after our session ends here at the beginning of Champions Week. Paul Nicholson's alongside me here. We covered one of Luke Littler's title wins together, and what he did in this building was a precursor to what was to come, but I don't think even we expected it was going to be that much that soon.
No, I knew he was going to do good things, but the kind of stuff that he's done since handing the trophy over to Jim McEwen at the end of 2023, I don't think even he could have dreamt up what's happened since. He is now a piece of the PDC's furniture, and he's topped the Premier League, and he's possibly going to be Premier League champion within a week. It's a great story, and I think the biggest thing for someone like myself and, you know, the likes of Glenn and yourself and Chris and Mace, what he's done for our sport is something we can all be very grateful for, because this sport has had some trying times over the last few decades where our reputation has been tarnished. Some people have taken pot shots at us, but what Littler's done over Christmas and the last few months has put us in the right light, and everybody wants to be part of this sport all of a sudden.
Genuinely, did you ever think darts would get the sort of attention that Luke Littler and others have given it right now? When you think about the press articles, you think about the sports stories, where it is on the front and back page. Did you ever envision it on this scale?
I did think that it was possible. I think it took the right talent to do so. After what Fallon Sherrick did in 2019, you figured that the vehicle with social media and the press, if you had the right person doing the right things, there was a possibility of this. But we didn't know that Littler was going to do it so soon and with such impact. Being at Ali Pali with the radio coverage gave us a great, inspiring look and listen at what was going on in the world of sport at that time. We were waiting for somebody new to almost be the new poster child of this sport, and he's continued to be that person in a ranking sense and in a Premier League sense over the last few months. We're just proud that we had him here for so many months. He's a great success story here in Portsmouth, and we can watch that documentary and remember just how good the times were when he was here.
Paul Nicholson's opinions now, but there's plenty more opinions from him in that documentary, which comes out on Monday afternoon. But to our second semi-final, where we have another young prodigy in action, Cam Crabtree. He takes on the emerging Chris Hurds.
But Cam Crabtree has made light work of Andy Bolton. A 4-0 success. It could be Chris Hurds that's going through with him.
Well, it's the favourite against the outsider in our second semi-final. Cam Crabtree was 3-1 with the odds compiler to go on and win the night. Chris Hurds was the outsider with the bookies, but they both meet as equals in this semi-final for the right to meet Ron Meulenkamp in the finale in around about half an hour's time. It's the man in green up against the man in pink, and the two men who'll be painting all the colours in this match in the commentary box is Chris Murphy and Paul Nicholson.
Yeah, certainly. Colourful contest ahead here. Cam Crabtree, the player in pink, 20 years of age from Croydon, and was strutting his stuff early in the night. The best performance of the night, that 102 average in his 4-0 win against Andy Bolton. Chris Hurds.
Game on.
Well, Henry kind of mentioned it, Paul, in the chat you had with him before the semi-finals tonight, that he is just like a cat with 9 lives. The question is, how many has he got left?
I really don't know. But if he gets through
57.
this, Chris Mason would say his name might be on pot, lad. But something weird is happening tonight.
125.
We talked about it at the start, where we had 6 players who had played one group this week. None of the games in the
60.
groups saw a repeat fixture apart from Crabtree against Bolton. The only way we get another repeat fixture from this week
29.
is if Chris Hurds wins this match. Because Crabtree was not in the group with Meulenkamp. I can't remember a Saturday like this
45.
before. It just goes to show that every Saturday night is slightly different. And remember that if you want to be a part of the
100.
audience, you can be with us. However, next week, the Champions Night is sold out. But you can be here for the Women's Week finals in a couple of weeks. And you can see the likes of
125.
Greaves, Sherrick, Gulliver, and others, potentially, if they qualify.
Yeah, tickets available via dartshop.tv for any Saturday session here at the Super Series.
Well, Chris Hurds has started rather well.
125. Chris, you reckon
But we have only
107.
one person left in the final 3 who was won before. That's the man who will have a crack at 89 for a 1-0 lead.
59. Can we require 89?
That has got to be a strength at this stage. Double 16.
Game shown the first leg.
That's an ideal start. He was in a little bit of jeopardy there in leg 1.
Second leg, it's Chris.
But after Hurds didn't take his opportunity, Cam stepped in. And if you look at him in the background and you compare him to certain players from this week, his pre-throw routine is so measured and composed compared to some other players who literally don't know what to do when they're not throwing. We've seen Brower and we've seen other players in Group A,
100.
like Dennis van den Ende, who didn't really give a great deal away from the Netherlands. He's not here tonight. But some of the players who have come here for the first time or don't have as much experience as others, they have given their hand away behind the other players a bit more than you should.
60.
Whereas Crabtree, over the last couple of years, has cultivated this image of, I know exactly what I'm doing all the time.
100.
And he's picking Hurds off dart by dart so far, with no panic at all.
85.
Well, that prediction has become a prophecy here for Cam Crabtree that he made before a dart was thrown tonight. Win his group, play Hurds or K in the semis, and I'm in the final. Don't think any disrespect was meant by Crabtree. He's just backing his own ability, isn't he?
He's a player that looks at the potential routes. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to think exactly the same as other players to have success. You just got to be yourself and do the right things at the right times, like hitting 126 out, which Chris cannot do. He might find himself 2-0 down, having not had a shot at a double.
Game shown
Very, very comfortable now, Cam Crabtree. Isn't really having to get out of second gear in this match, but he is making it easy.
Throw first. Game on.
Sounds like an Eagles song, doesn't it? Making it easy on yourself. You should be taking it easy on yourself, which I suppose this is.
140.
Whatever happens from here, Chris Hurds has had a positive week. And he's done Wales proud. But if he doesn't get through, we are going to have 7 countries in Champions Week.
45.
Which is still a lot when it's only 12 players.
40.
There's only one result we have not had in a final in this series. And that result is 4-0. Which is exactly what we've had in 2 of our games tonight.
59.
That performance from Meulenkamp, it wasn't his statistical best performance of the week. It was just a shade behind his best from Monday. But if you look at the situation in its entirety, that was his best performance of the week. Before the night began, Murph, we all said the 2 best players coming into tonight, Crabtree and Meulenkamp.
Well, that final is
97.
getting closer to being realised. Chris Hurds, though, has been in this position before tonight and dug himself out.
But not against someone like Cam.
124.
He actually lost 6 of the first 7 legs he played this evening.
92.
All he can do is win this one leg and then focus on the next one.
96.
It's not like some other sports where you can close the gap a lot quicker. All you can do is one at a time. Is this the first one?
24.
It might not be.
Cammy require 92.
Checking it's in. He's told it is in. And it's double 16.
Double 12. He didn't think he was going to go for 12s at this visit.
68. Chris, you require 8.
Is he still alive?
6.
Well, he will be if Cam hits double 12 this time, but only by a very fine margin.
Cam Crabtree.
That apology was very, very unusual. He's just holding his hand up as if to say, yes, I took the leg, but maybe you should have got it. But he flapped his hand as if he was waving goodbye at the same time. Now, that's me just trying to see something cryptic in that, because he might be waving goodbye to Hurds in the next 90 seconds.
He may even just kind of been exercising his hand, because to be honest, Paul, he will have seen the performance from Ron Meulenkamp, which may mirror the result. It was 4-0. This could be 4-0. But he knows he's playing nowhere near as well as Ron did in that match.
Not at all. He's a good 20 points behind him. All he can do is beat the person in front of you. Or in this case, just a bit behind you.
You just made a great point there. That's a common cliche in darts, isn't it? But if your opponent's in front of you, then they've got a real problem.
That's why we've got that exclusion zone. If you're just starting this sport, rule number 1, don't throw a dart if someone's in front of you, unless they've got a mic in your hand. Great first start from Chris. The comeback's got to start somewhere.
And Cam Crabtree is there for the taking. May sound absolutely stupid saying this about a man who's 3-0 up, but Chris Hurds actually has a higher average by some 7 points. And Crabtree's showing signs here of a kind of laboured performance. It's a pretty lethargic. Hurds could be in business, you know.
He could be. Let's see what happens in the next leg then. Because he does have a greater average, and he's had more darts at double than that of his opponent.
Game on.
Board's over there, Cam.
He needs a bit of extra practice, Cam Crabtree. That's what he feels.
He was talking yesterday about how much he loves to practice.
97.
That is not the same for every player you talk to. Some people find it really hard to get up in the morning and put the hours in.
85.
Never been a problem for Crabtree. He loves to practice. So much so that when he's in a match, he likes to practice in between throws as well.
57.
I sincerely hope, for his sake, that he hasn't peaked in his first match tonight. That may just be the only
100.
ton plus average we get all week. That first start is not cooperating all of a sudden.
45.
And it makes everything else harder. You might be onto something here, Murph. Every time I look up at the scoreboard now, Hurds is ahead.
Crabtree's regressing, and he's regressing from an already poor position in terms of the performance. The standard is nowhere near what he managed at the start of the night, and he has got progressively worse as the night's gone on. 101 average, followed by an 89. This is now 74.
All I'm going to say is, if Chris Hurds wins this match, he might be a genie.
60.
After everything he's been through this week, if you find a lamp on the beach, Chris Hurds might come out of it and say, what can I do to give you your 3 wishes? Double top.
96.
Well, if he does work his way back into this match, then Cam Crabtree would be a lad in trouble, wouldn't he? Can't produce the checkout that he had in that brilliant performance earlier on, and Hurds looks at double 10. Oh, you know what? I think the shake of the head there is not just about the miss. I think he knows Crabtree could clean this up, but he's missed a huge opportunity to beat him.
Hasn't he just? Let's see if Crabtree can finish the job. He just wants rid of Hurds right now for the final.
61.
Would have been some way to do it. The question now is, did he need to do it? Because he has been outscored by Hurds in the last couple of legs. In the madhouse. Surely the cat has run out of lives now.
25.
Misses a big number.
21.
Crabtree can't correct.
Required 2.
He missed the single by a distance. He missed the double by a distance. Hurds is still alive.
Chris Hurds.
Change that nickname from Hurdsy, if you please.
Sick player gets Chris to throw first.
This is starting to turn into a Matrix-style game. You can't really believe what you're seeing.
Whoa!
Well, if he picks up, there is no sign at the moment that Cam Crabtree is going to go with him. He's in a battle with himself here.
By the way, I've been trying to figure out the word on the forearm is his nickname.
100.
If you need some motivation, sometimes you just need the sight of your own name to almost talk to yourself on the stage, because there's nobody else to help you.
44.
He's 3-2 down, but he might just be the favourite for this tie now.
31.
Well, Crabtree needs to find something from nowhere. Nothing coming from him at the moment.
45.
We're talking about the man that's winning the match here. And he would have the throw in a decider, but right now, it feels like Chris Hurds is going to win this.
I don't mean to get on my soapbox for a couple of seconds, but are you trying to tell me that there's no momentum in darts? Because at the minute, if you were to look up that word in this sport, this is it. Hurds has got it all.
One thing he has had is some frailties on the finishing all night, all week, all Super Series career. So there may be, and it seems like the only way Crabtree is going to win the match, there may be more misses at doubles that allow Crabtree back in.
He's had nearly double the amount of chances as his opponent.
Well, there's 2 of those misses. There's 3 of them.
30.
I don't agree with what he did on dart 3. He looked away, then went straight for it. He needed to take a breather there, and Cam has got a chance. Double 19.
93.
But Hurds remains in the precarious position of having to take aim at double 5. Finds it, finds himself level, dodges another bullet. Henry D can joke that he'll win 4-3, 4-3. Well, this could be one of them.
Final leg, it's Cam to throw first. Game on.
I said he might be a genie. If he's casting spells up there, he might be a witch.
Can Cam Crabtree suddenly rediscover the form he had at the start of the night?
Is a 15 darter going to be enough for you, Murph?
Well, I think it'll be more than enough the way the game's gone on.
60.
Very symptomatic of what we've seen over the last 5.5 days. A lot of games that have seen averages like this, but this is uber mature from Crabtree. He's found a couple of tons, which steadies the ship.
134.
He might be more impressed with himself if he wins the game this way than winning it 4-0.
It's a good point, and I'm sure that sometimes players feel like
And they
that
require 161.
when they haven't played well, when they've had to dig deep. Might have bought himself some time here.
He's done everything right. Scored heavily enough. Got himself into 2-dart range with a very clever switch in a 25.
97.
And he has got 6 darts. He can just meander there with singles. He might not need the singles, because that does get him into the final. It's almost like he went to sleep for 3 legs, and then he woke up, and he did get a 15-darter with the last leg of the semi-final. It turns out that Chris Hurds has run out of lives, but the final in week 12 is going to see Cam Crabtree up against Ron Meulenkamp, arguably the 2 best players of the week. Not his best performance. He has been somewhat up and down over the last 2.5 days, but he's there, and it's now going to be best of 7 legs at the end of week 12 to see who the last name is into Champions Week.
Hang on a minute.
Wow! Oh my God! Well, that's £100 down the drain already. Itching to hit the 180. He's gone for the maximum.
Team for the bull. Bull.
53.
No, he said bull. That's a great first start from Adam. Oh, look at this. He's going to leave Scape.
Oh, can you believe it? That is unbelievable. Get match darts to put his team into the final. And through to the final they go. Charlie Murphy has hit the match-winning dart on both occasions. Double 4 for the title.
Game shot out of the match. Please show your appreciation for the winner of the Influencer Pairs event, George Scaife and Adam Lipscomb.
He seems to be out. That's what he is, Charlie Murphy. A couple more visits yet. We're not going to need that.
Bosh.
Pie face is through. He gets
And he's absolutely buzzing.
It was a game that pie face dominated throughout.
Charlie
Welcome back to the Modus Super Series, where Chris Hurds in the end ran out of lies. He came back from 3-0 down, forced Crabtree into a last leg decider, but it is Shazam who has found a way into the final using his magical, mystical powers to send him through to the finale. This is what we've seen on a Saturday night, which has been littered with drama, littered with high quality at times as well, littered with nerves at other points, and it sees us all the way to the final. Ron Meulenkamp against Cam Crabtree after Meulenkamp won his semi-final against Scott Baker by 4-2. The asset Paul Nicholson is alongside me here in the studio to assess the two semi-finals that we've seen. Let's begin with Ron Meulenkamp against Scott Baker. If Cam Crabtree had to toil towards the line against Chris Hurds, Ron Meulenkamp made quite serene progress, really, didn't he?
Yeah, 96.97 the average. He looked in command, and Scott Baker just didn't have an answer. And Ron just brought the fire as well. He had a real purpose about his play, and I said a little bit earlier tonight that when this was completed, it wasn't numerically his best performance of the week, but if you consider the timing of it, it definitely was. Because when you're bringing your best darts into the semi-finals and beyond, that's where performances can be magnified. He'll be thrilled that he's through it by 4-0, and I think he'll be really happy that the other two in the other semi-final went through the ringer.
Let's talk about that semi-final and try and sum up into some context, because Crabtree raced into a 3-0, didn't play at his best, then regressed a little bit more, and Chris Hurd began to fancy the task ahead of him.
Well, didn't he just? But how valuable is it sometimes that you have the darts in the last leg? I categorised it at the end of the match as if Cam went to sleep for 3 legs. At 3-0, he's thinking, this is mine. You've got to almost self-talk at the 3-0 point and say, the job isn't done. Stay awake. Stay urgent. And I get the feeling that that performance is going to live in his memory for a while. Whenever he's 3-0 down or 3-0 up, he's going to remember that and think, what did I think about when I started leg 7? I speculated that 15 darters, would be enough in a spot like that. It was, but his ability to wake up and get it done tells you everything you need to know about his maturity.
Well, we'll talk about the two players in the final in just a second. It's the final night of action before Champions Week, which kickstarts on Monday. And then after that, we're going to see our second specials week here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. And it's going to be the first ever Women's Week here. So this is the group breakdown for the Women's Week. Group A is going to feature Fallon Sherrock and Bo Greaves in action. They're going to be the headline names. Trina Gulliver, 10-time world champion there as well. Let's talk through the groups. In particular, Group A. Now, Fallon and Bo will be the big favourites to go and win it. But outside of them two, who else should we keep an eye on?
Well, I think Katie Sheldon isn't getting the same amount of press that she was getting when she first broke through and made the women's match play a couple of years ago. So a really good opportunity for someone like Katie to get reps. But I'm like you, it's easy to wax lyrical about Fallon and Bo and Trina and people like that. I want to see the less heralded names get their time on the oche to try and polish their skills. Someone like Kirsi Visakainen, I just get the feeling that she might thrive from having a 5-day week and more exposure. Looking further on in the week, someone like Lorraine Winstanley, one of our favourite people in the ladies' game, and obviously Dieter Hedman later in the week. I think the narrative should be about all of them, not just about the fact that Bo and Fallon are going to be playing on Monday morning.
Well, that's going to be on the 27th of May. That's going to begin on the Super Series YouTube channel. But let's look ahead to our last final before Champions Week in Series 7. And it sees two players who played at the last Champions Week go toe-to-toe. Ron Meulenkamp up against Cam Crabtree. Only one can make it through this time around. Let's talk about the final in more detail. Ron was the bookmaker's favourite at the beginning of the night. Cam Crabtree was second favourite. Now, it feels like sometimes, even when the bookmakers are wrong, they find a way of getting it right on the basis of the play tonight.
Well, they have got it right, haven't they? And even when we question it, it seems to work out the right way according to the odds compilers. But these are the two best players of the week. So maybe it wasn't that cryptic from the odds compilers in the first place. It's just a question of who turns up in the final, because if we were to grade them on their semi-final exploits, we'd give an A to Ron, we'd probably give a B- or a C+ to Cam Crabtree. It might come down to whoever wins the bullseye. We don't know who that is yet.
Ron.
Okay, so Ron's got that, and he's having the Bradley Roos week, isn't he? He's won Group A, he's won every game so far on a Saturday night, and as far as this final's concerned, if he gets through, he's going to be joining Jimmy and Bradley in the Champions Week.
Is the story perhaps as much as we kind of know what we're going to expect from Ron in this final, but maybe we don't know what to expect from Cam in this match?
I don't know, because Ron has at times gone up and down himself. Predominantly tonight, it's been steady in the group, more spectacular in the semis, but he has dropped off at times this week when he's played multiple games. Cam has had this ability to respond as well. Think about Game 3 on Thursday, where he averaged in the mid-70s like he's just done now. What did he do after that? He responded well by averaging over 90 in his next game, and I just get the feeling he might have to do that in the final.
Who's coming back next week then?
I'm going to have to go with Ron at this stage based on what we've seen in the semis, but any result would not shock me. The only result we haven't had in a final in this series is 4-0 in a final. I don't think it's going to be 4-0.
Well, we will see whether that is the case, apparent for sure. And for these players, that week 12, we saw Scott Taylor in the previous series win that week, go on to win a Champions Week. What kind of momentum can they build by winning that last week?
Well, judging on what Scott did, it's a good sign. I think you're more likely to get a winner from the second half of the winners in Series 7 than the early players. No disrespect to them, of course, but they've had a lot more time to wait to come back to replicate the form that they showed in the first 6 weeks. So momentum is there, definitely, but it does depend on how well you play in the final.
Well, let's get it on. It's the final of Series 7 before Championship begins on Monday. It's Meulenkamp against Crabtree.
Well done. Fantastic. Meulenkamp gets the job done, and he gets it done in style.
He might not need the singles, because that does get him into the final.
It's Crabtree, it's Meulenkamp. The last place of Champions Week is on the line. Who is going to book that final ticket to the red letter occasion on the blue South Coast City? Is it Cam Crabtree, the 20-year-old from Croydon, who is having, well, a fantastic start to the year? Winner on the Challenge Tour, becoming one of the real young talents that this sport is flourishing through, up against Ron the Bomb Meulenkamp, who himself is saying that he's going through a 3.0 process. He's hoping it's Champions Week 2.0 for him. In the commentary box is Paul Nicholson and Chris Murphy.
And so it comes down to this, the final before the final week, the Champions Week. Crabtree from Croydon ready to do battle. And Henry alluded to it. Good start to the night, but his standard has dropped as the evening has gone on. The results have got him through to the final, of course. It's been the opposite for Ron Meulenkamp. His curve is an upward one tonight. And he immediately tells Cam Crabtree, this is what you're up against.
Could well be his night. Do you remember his first 3 darts of the night?
96.
It was a maximum. And I like that switch as well, because he's been one of those players this week who has struggled to have all 3 darts in the board at all times with that very upright angle. I think going to the 57 there was exactly the right thing to do. Whoa, but an early haymaker there from Cam. This could be a great final.
Well, that's encouraging, because we were seeing signs that it might not be. It might be one-sided based on the semi-final performances, when Crabtree rather fell over the line against Chris Hurds, and I'm sure he would be the first to admit that after Meulenkamp had walloped Scott Baker in the previous match. But he's turned it on, hasn't he? He's turned it back on, seemingly.
You might wonder how you can do that. You've got to find a way. Maybe take 2 minutes outside and just give yourself a telling off. It can do wonders. Let's see if 104 will give him a 12-dart start. Predominantly this week, Ron has been leaving 32 from shots like this. He is going to remain as someone who possibly leaves 32. And he does, eventually. Same height as those two darts, but he wants to go out west.
17. Can he require
So
8?
To break in the opening leg.
Game shot.
Crabtree suddenly
Cam Crabtree.
discovers his ability. A 13 dart
Cam
start.
to throw first. Game on.
Could be a close one, this.
He's still talking about the darts, or are you talking about the exclusion zone? That's an old school tactic, that. That was a Peter Manley special, that from Ron Meulenkamp.
84.
Crabtree just fell short of doing the Kevin Painter reverse as well, didn't he? He knew he was there, and neither would back down.
There's a lot on the line here.
59.
Whoever loses is not coming back next week. Whoever wins stays. As for where they will play,
59.
we will keep you up to date with that on our social channels in the coming hours. But if you're curious as to how the finals have gone over the last 11 weeks, we've had no 4-0s in the finals. We've had 4 4-1s, 4 4-2s, and 3 4-3s. A very even spread of results
79.
where every player has got at least one leg in a final.
Well, we're in the early throes of the final, but I'll say it, Paul. Whoever makes it through to Champions Week is going to complete what has got to be one of our strongest lineups ever.
100.
I think the only argument for saying it's not the strongest is the fact that Luke Littler's not in it. Of course, the winner of 2 series. He can't be anymore.
I think there are different types of world champions in the Champions Week as well.
Yeah, we've got Neil Duff and Bo Greaves, who both became world champion on the same day. Of course, as Meulenkamp fires in, well, it's his first 180 of the match, but his second 3 big treble visit.
96. Ronnie require 106.
He missed double 16 to win the first leg after missing a single. Does he get this treble 18 to have another shot at double 16? There's your answer. Cam thinks the bomb's about to go off.
74. Can you require 83?
Treble 17 will be the first port of call here. To leave double 16. To leave Ron Meulenkamp now, chasing his tail. I'm just going to further that point, actually, looking at the list for Champions Week. Bo Greaves, Neil Duff, and Bradley Roos all became world champions on the same day, in the same place.
Correct. That was exactly my point. 3 different types of world champions.
26.
Yeah, and it all happened together. They shared those moments. We were there, weren't we? We were in the around for the speeches and everything afterwards.
97.
And there was a photograph taken with all 3 of them in it.
I should mention Eleanor Cairns as well.
Yeah, get her down. Get another photo.
Wild card for Champions Week. Yeah, Lakeside a couple of years ago. But it is Bo Greaves, Andreas Harris and Andy
98.
Davidson, Conor Heenan, Bradley Brooks, Kieran Tian, Rhys Robinson, Bradley Roos, Darius Labanauskas, Jimmy Vansky and Neil Duff, along with the winner of this match, fighting it out for the Series 7 title and a £25,000 record first prize. Champions Week gets underway from 9:30 Monday morning here on the Modus Super Series YouTube channel.
121.
I think based on what we've seen tonight, I think there are going to be some very, very happy people around midnight when they find out where they're playing next week. But predominantly, your focus is just to get there. Ron Meulenkamp is within 1 and a bit legs of not making Champions Week and losing in his second final
80.
here at Portsmouth.
And there'll be no lucky losers this time around. It is going to be a Champions Week of only champions, only weekly winners. And Cam Crabtree is edging closer to being that again here at the Live Lounge.
I think he's playing this game really well. It's not just a good performance,
Full player gets Cam to throw
because
first.
he's only thrown 45 darts in this final.
How has he done this? How has he turned it around so dramatically? He stuck nigh on 30 points onto his average for the semis.
I go back to what I said. When he was 3-0 up, I'm sure he thought he had the job done. Even with a couple of years of good experience, sometimes those situations do come about where you think, I've got the job done, I'll just meander to the finish. And it just didn't happen for him. Your mind can go to sleep. And if he wins 4-0, it'll be the only 4-0 in a final in the series. And this is the one result that people didn't think could happen in this final.
Well, it has been a series that's had a bit of everything. And look, before the night, you wouldn't say this was an unrealistic outcome, but based on what we've seen tonight, it is something of a surprise.
It is. He may have to go to County in Norfolk tomorrow and come straight back.
Martin Lukeman's his taxi, I believe. He's sitting at the back of the room, ready to cheer on what could be the week-winning checkout.
And he hasn't added any fuel to Ron's fire. He has not celebrated anything in this final yet, but he might be celebrating right now.
96.
Well, that would have been some way to win it. Ron Meulenkamp has to find some way to stay in it.
It's a big ask. Too much of an ask. The doubles for Crabtree have been 50%.
93.
And he should get 2 darts.
25.
It could be curtains for the bomb.
Game shot and the match. And the Week 12 Modus Super Series champion, Cam Crabtree.
And Cam Crabtree does complete the field for Champions Week. An emotional end to a rather bizarre evening. It is 2 victories for Crabtree here at the Super Series. He's tasted success again. Shazam got the job done in style in the final. He started the night with a fantastic display when he averaged 101.9 in a 4-0 victory. He's done exactly the same thing in the final, bookending his winning week, his winning night, and making his return to Champions Week here at the Super Series. He is named 12 on that list. Great stats in the final, mirroring that performance from match 1. 101.9 the average, 4 out of 7 on the doubles, and a 4-0 thumping of Ron Meulenkamp, who would have gone into that final much fancied. And it is now time for Crabtree to have his moment on that stage once again. I will hand you over to our MC, Owen Binks.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the presentation. Would you please show your support for the Week 12 Modus Super Series champion, Cam Crabtree!
So then, Cam Crabtree is the man who completes the field as far as Champions Week is concerned. He is the last man through. And what a champion he is, Paul Nicholson.
Some performance, wasn't it? He might have gone to sleep for a little bit of time in that semi-final against Chris Hurds, but my word, what a performance that was. And to be the only person who has registered a ton-plus average this week, and to put them in both on the Saturday night. First performance, told everybody what he could do. By the end, he just swept the bomb aside, and unfortunately for Ron, it's final heartbreak again.
There was a couple of times this week, one tonight, one on Thursday, where he asked question marks of Cam, but both times he's answered them emphatically.
I've used this word maturity an awful lot over the last 3 days when it comes to Crabtree. I think maturity comes from how you behave in certain situations. The final leg of the semi-final, he showed maturity in bouncing back quickly, within seconds. But to be able to, within 5 or 6 minutes, find a way to get that performance out of yourself, to replicate what you've done in the very first game of the night, it tells you that Cam Crabtree, at a very young age, is not only mature, but someone who can deliver when he needs to.
Well, we saw him, you didn't see this on the camera, but he was literally dancing into the studio. Cam, congratulations. I feel like you've gone through the whole meal tonight. You started with 101.9 average, finished with 101.9 average.
Oh.
See, there's a pleasant surprise, isn't it?
I thought I'd average about 77 again.
But in the middle of it, there was some trying, testing moments. That must have been an evening where you had to just go through everything.
Right. If I'm honest, I actually can't believe I've won the week, right? So I had such a great build-up probably 2 weeks ago. I thought, I wish Modus was now. I wish Q School was now in the middle of April, because I was playing such good darts. Then about a week before I come here, I was like, oh my life, I literally can't throw 3 darts. And then tonight, I built up yesterday. From Thursday, I wasn't great. Tonight, I had a great first game, and I thought, well, if I play like this, I'm going to win 4-0, and I might win 4-0 again, and I could do great tonight. And I played against Scott, and it wouldn't quite click, but I didn't feel too awful. And then against Chris, 3-0 up, I thought, okay, I'm not playing my best darts, but it's fine. And then I thought, oh my goodness, I literally can't string the first dart to the second, let alone the third. And I'm so fortunate to have beaten Chris. Chris didn't throw his best darts in the first 3 legs, but he come back really nicely. And I think experience probably won me the last leg.
Yeah.
And Chris is a great player, and he played a good game there, and I'm very fortunate to have won that game. And then in the practice room, I did the bull-up. Ron hit about 18 bullseyes in a row, and I thought, I'm not going to win that. I lost the bullseye, and I thought, from the start of the night, where I felt really good, to the end of the night, I thought, I'm in serious trouble here. And normally, I've got a couple of people down there, be it my dad, Owen, my mate Connor, my girlfriend, someone there to give a bit of a shout. My mum's there, but she doesn't want to shout. So I thought and Martin's here, but Martin's quite a calm character. So I thought, I'm in trouble here. And then luckily, I don't really know where it came from. I strung a couple of good darts together. The fact you said I just averaged 101, if I'm completely honest, I was so nervous because I actually went up there thinking I don't want to lose 4-0. I'm so glad to have strung that together. I don't really know where it came from.
You mentioned 4-0. That is the only 4-0 scoreline in a final in this series. And that is one of the best performances in a final in this series. Mm-hmm. We've just seen the emotion of you when you clicked that final 8-8. Does it feel fairly sweet knowing that that double is what cost you a lot on Thursday? Because you couldn't have hit it with a porcupine.
I reckon I could have thrown 3 porcupines and I wouldn't have hit 8-8 on Thursday. I tell you what does feel good. It feels good that I'm going to be there next week, and my plan is to do the same thing again. I'm absolutely not saying that will happen because there's plenty of brilliant players there next week, but I didn't feel good this week and I managed to win it. Mm-hmm. All I can do is, all this week, even if I throw bad darts in practice, I'm going to think, I won last week, and that's all I can do is feed myself good energy, and hopefully next week play better. And if I play better, I've averaged 101 in the final and didn't feel good, which I don't mean that to sound sort of condescending or anything, but if I've averaged 101 in the final and not felt good, then what can I do next week if I'm on a high?
In terms of next week, I spoke to you at the beginning of the night and I said, where are you at in terms of your career, in terms of expectation to win in comparison to getting experience in the bank? But going into next week, having had that previous tilt at Champions Week, playing at Champions Night, having that disappointment, what kind of energy from that previous experience can you use into your second tilt at Champions Week?
Yeah, there's a lot of it. You look at this Champions Week, there's a lot of excellent players. You've got, just off the top of my head, Brad Brooks, Darius Labanauskas both come off the tour straight into Champions Week. Bo Greaves, Bo's won 2 women's world titles, but she's never played a Champions Week. Now, that's not a deterrent to her because if she can play on the Lakeside stage, she can absolutely play on this stage. Darius and Brad have both played on the Worlds, on the Ali Pali stage at the PDC Worlds. They can absolutely play here, but they've not played in a Champions Week finals night, and I have. So I'm not saying that gives me an edge because they absolutely have more experience than I do, but I know what it's like to be here on a Saturday in Champions Week, and I know what it's like to lose here on a Champions Week finals night, and I don't like it, so I don't want to do that again.
I've got to ask you this question because there's probably going to be a lot of people watching this thinking, have you got a message for Owen Bates now that you've got 2 weekly titles and he's got 1?
Get good. Joking, I love you.
Can I ask, have you thought about your plans, your arrangements? Did you ever think about what the arrangement would be for winning week 12 going into week 13?
Well, actually, when I first got asked, I got asked by Murph. I said to my dad, I said, I'm playing week 12. And he said, oh, that's great. I said, Scott Taylor won week 12. And he went straight into week 13, well, Champions Week, which is the 13th week. And he won it. I said, it worked for him. Why can't it work for me? Now, he probably played a bit better in week 12 than I did. But, you know, apples and oranges, why can't I do it?
I'm going to ask you £1 million question. What would be your preference in terms of a group next week?
Probably Group B, because I do like the evenings. I feel better in the evenings. I can get my music on. When you wake up early to play, and then, you know, no one wants to come in here when they've just opened their eyes. I get to have a stroll. I did the same. I spoke to my mate Connor, and he said, do exactly the same thing today that you did yesterday, because yesterday you were brilliant. He said, be brilliant again today, do the same thing. I walked the same place, I did the same place, FaceTime my girlfriend at the same time. Well, we have to be here earlier today, but in preparation, same time. I ate in the same place. I ate in Frankie and Benny's again.
Other Italian restaurants available, by the way.
Yeah, I had pasta yesterday in Frankie and Benny's. I should have actually gone to a proper Italian, but here, you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I did everything the same. I like Group B. Hopefully I'll be in Group B again, and that means I get to go and play for Middlesex tomorrow night.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question. I know what group you're going to be in next week. Which group do you think you're going to be in next week on the basis of your performances?
He's going to string this out, by the way.
Yes, this is going to be hard for you.
I would like to say Group B because I wasn't excellent, but you smiled when I said Group B. I'm hoping not Group C, but if I am, then bring it. Owen won through Group C, and he didn't win 2 weekly titles, so I can win through Group C at Champions Week.
Well, I can tell you, this feels like who wants to be a millionaire here. I can tell you, Cam Crabtree, you are playing in Group B next week, so you're going to get your preferred option. So what is going to be the preparation now? As you said, you've got County tomorrow. What's the rest of the week going to look like?
I've got County and Norfolk tomorrow. Monday night, I'll practice. Tuesday night, we play a summer league in Croydon. I'll practice with Darryl Pilgrim for a couple of hours before. Wednesday night, I will probably look to practice with maybe even on my own, but maybe Martin, maybe Darryl. I'll find someone good. If not, I'm probably the happiest person to practice on my own ever. Put my headphones in, I can throw for 12 hours. I'm so happy doing it. I know what I need to work on, know what I don't. And then Thursday day, I'll head up here, the same as yesterday, same as this week, sorry. And I'll do the same thing again, hopefully better performance on Thursday night, but I will look to do the same thing again.
Well, I have one more quick word with you in just a second. I'm just going to speak to Paul for a sec because we know the Champions Week lineup now. We can actually confirm that full 12-player lineup now for you ahead of next week's action. So these are the weekly winners. We will confirm the whole groups in due course. You can stay tuned to that via the Super Series YouTube channel, but Cam Crabtree is definitely playing in Group B next week. Now, I know Cam is here. Out of those 12 players, who would Cam look at as possibly the big competition? I know Bo Grease is a name that everybody's talking about.
Yes, because she's played the best starts of anybody in a weekly campaign and she hasn't lost. It cannot be ignored. But there are players on that list who are being ignored. I know that Cam has mentioned Bradley Brooks, but people seem to forget how well he played towards the end of his week in week 7. Darius Labanauskas, he only just got through to the Saturday night. However, look at how he played on Saturday night. And I think that's how we start to grade people. People can get through in very different ways, but it's how you perform under the lights in front of the fans, and especially when someone like this guy to my right knows what it's like on a Saturday night in Champions Week. And this place is sold out. It's going to be loud, it's going to be hot, and it's going to be difficult. And if you've had that experience before, there's no reason why he can't do it.
Just finally, in a sentence, what would winning the Modus Super Series mean to you?
A lot. That's only 2 words. It's not a sentence, but
that's perfect.
I can do a lot with 25 grand, and I can also, you know, it's not about the money. The same as when you go to a challenge or a development tour, you don't play to win the 2.5 grand or whatever it is. You go to move yourself up the rankings. And here, I think winning there, it would be about moving myself up in the experience ladder, if you will, and also going to challenge tour in early June. People would look and think, Cam's just won Champions Week. And I always say this, Luke had this effect, Bo had this effect, and maybe will have this effect next week if she plays in Group A, like you've just mentioned. People often lose before they get to the board. And I won't say I have that effect, but I would like to have that effect. I want people to draw Cam Crabtree and not want to play Cam Crabtree.
Finally, away from the darts, big Gunners fan. Do they do it tomorrow, or City got it wrapped up?
Sadly not, but, you know, I won today, so I'll be content.
Be a pretty good week if Arsenal get the job done and you've got the job done tonight.
If Arsenal get the job done and I've got the job done tonight and Middlesex are going to get promoted tomorrow when I play County, I'll send you a video of me running around the venue.
Great. We'll get that on the Super Series Twitter account. Cam, thank you so much. Good luck next week. Paul, thank you for your company over the course of the last season. It's been great fun spending time with you. And so we now know the full field of players as far as Champions Week is concerned. The action gets underway for 9:30 on Monday morning on the Super Series YouTube channel. There's going to be a new name on the jackpot.